LoveLore Library. Chapter 305. The head of the Phantom Beast hunting group couldn't help but look at Yunxing's hands. When he saw those hands, he couldn't help but tremble. What kind of hands were those? Yan Yun's true appearance was that of a beautiful young girl. Her hands should also be white and flawless. But the hand in front of him. A withered, pitch-black hand that was emitting a terrifying magic power. The summoning ring on top of the hand was flashing, and a magic space as bright as the sun was rapidly forming. That was a real magic space. Inside it was the centipede ant king that had doubled in size because of the exquisite beast pagoda. It was waving its limbs ferociously. Boom! A burst of dust flew, and a magical beast that the head of the Phantom Beast hunting group had never seen before landed in front of him. The powerful pressure of the magical beast made the head of the Phantom Beast hunting group's knees go soft, and he knelt on the ground. The centipede ant king spat out venom from its mouth. The Phantom Beast hunting group's defense that couldn't be shaken in the slightest by combat skills and magic was like a thin layer of paper, immediately eroding a big hole. What the hell is this? The head of the Phantom Beast hunting group trembled, as if he had seen a ghost. As if he had gone crazy, he attacked the centipede ant king. But in front of a commander-level beast general, all his attacks seemed so weak. Yunxing raised her hand. On her hand, there was a terrifying magic fluctuation. The commander of the Phantom Beast Legion watched as his rank 7 Phantom Beast was devoured by the 100-legged ants' army of beast ants. In a short while, the Phantom Beast of the Phantom Beast hunting group turned into an empty shell. You! Don't come over. The head of the hunting group was so scared that his whole body was trembling. You want that account book, right? I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you immediately. He was so scared that his hands and feet almost cramped. Without hesitation, he threw away the account book that was worth millions of gold. The head of the hunting group didn't know that the account book that he thought was hard to get was already a waste of paper. Yunxing didn't even look at the account book. Also, the letter that Zhou Bing asked you to rob the account book, where is the commission? The head of the hunting group thought for a while, and unwillingly handed over Zhou Bing's handwritten letter and the limitless gold card. I've already handed it over, you should let me go now, right? I can guarantee that I won't tell anyone about what happened today. He thought that after handing over these things, the other party would let him go. But who knew that the female summoner who looked as beautiful as a fairy, but her methods were extremely vicious. I have one more thing to ask you. It's about the belt of summoning you're wearing. Who gave you this belt? Yunxing took out the belt she got from Wu Ping. She. It turned out that the other party was after the summoning belt. He could not reveal the secret of the summoning belt. Otherwise, Zhao Ting would not let him off. When Yunxing saw the sudden change in his expression, her originally timid eyes suddenly became firm. It seems that the summoning belt is no small matter. Even the head of the Phantom Beast army did not dare to say anything about it. The other party was a revered martial artist. Shen Nong's pupil was not as effective as Wu Ping's. Yunxing did not say much. She used her divine sense and the 100-legged ant general crawled over. It opened its sharp mouth and bit off the big toe of the head of the Phantom Beast army. The head of the Phantom Beast army almost died from the pain. He looked at his toe as it was swallowed by the 100-legged ant general. I know you're not afraid of death. You don't care about the lives of your hunters. But there are many ways to die. Do you believe that I can let my beasts eat your feet one by one? Tomorrow, I'll eat your hands. After 10 days, guess which part of your body will still be intact? Yunxing said as she patted the head of the 100-legged ant general. The latter made a crunching sound. It was obvious that it had just chewed off the toe of the head of the Phantom Beast army. The head of the Phantom Beast army felt like his liver and guts were about to burst when he thought about how he was on his last breath and was going to be eaten every day. He finally understood how this female summoner, Flaming Cloud, got her nickname. The Bloody Lowly truly lived up to her name. She wasn't human. No, I'll talk. That summoning belt was given to me by my aunt. She's a summoner in the Zao state. She said that the gemstones on the belt were not ordinary ores. They were refined with beast blood. The head of the Phantom Beast army was on the verge of collapse. He told Yunxing about the origin of the summoning belt. Yunxing listened and carefully examined the magical beast belt in her hands. Just as the vice head of the Phantom Beast army had said, the gemstones were refined with beast blood. The only difference was that the gemstones on Wu Ping's magical beast belt were refined with the blood of mid-ranked beasts. The magical beast belt on the head of the Phantom Beast army was refined with the blood of high-ranked beasts. Yunxing was smart. After learning the secret of the gemstone refining, she roughly understood the principle of the magical beast belt in just a short while. The magical beast belt's effect was similar to that of a high-ranked beast to a low-ranked beast. It was able to control the beast. The advantage of this belt was that no matter if it was a summoner or a magician, they could use this belt to enslave low-ranked beasts. However, the disadvantage was that once a higher-ranked magical beast belt or a more skilled summoner appeared, the magical beast belt would automatically lose its effect. She did not expect the Zao state to have such a method of controlling beasts. This discovery was very helpful to Yunxing. She decided to search for suitable beasts on her way to the southern border of the Zao state. If there were any suitable beasts, she would obtain a portion of their blood and use it to refine the magical beast belt. If she could give every member of the Heavenly Hunting Corps a magical beast belt like this, the strength of the hunters would undoubtedly increase. Ant General, swallow him. Yunxing ordered coldly. The 100-legged Ant General immediately swallowed the commander of the Magical Beast Corps. After Yunxing checked the letter, she immediately rushed back to meet up with Yun Sanglong and the rest. Yun Sanglong and the rest had already captured a few members of the Phantom Beast Corps. After finding out that Yunxing had already killed the commander and brought back a letter, the members of the Heavenly Hunting Corps did not reveal much shock this time. In their eyes, their young master was 1,000 times, 10,000 times more savage than General Yun. If they offended the commander, at most they would just snap their necks. If they offended young Master Yun, an image appeared in everyone's minds and they all shivered at the same time. In the Heavenly Hunting Corps, if the commander was the boss, then young Master Yun was the Empress. It served the Phantom Beast Corps right for offending their young master's friends. The group immediately rushed back to the camp. Thank you to Bookfriend 087, Pudding, Yen Lass, I'm only willing to die for you, and Shitzi, and have you now for your tips. School is about to start, and I'm going to study. Whoa, I'll miss you. You refined a Saint-grade Saint elixir and even slapped the Medicine Emperor Pavilion during the free medical treatment? Zhou Qingchuan's a Saints Lin Yao's of the Emperor's name. Zhou Qingchuan was in charge of the business affairs of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. The business scope of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce was very wide and included the acquisition of medicinal herbs. On the continent, not to mention Saint-grade elixirs, as long as it was a high-grade elixir, it would definitely be produced by the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. In a similar situation, in the field of magic medicine, it was illegal to do so. Yunxing had refined the high-grade elixir of the Moon God first. This was still acceptable. After all, she had studied at the Royal Magic Academy. However, she had actually refined a Saint-grade elixir without going through the Medicine Emperor Pavilion's systematic training. Furthermore, she had repeatedly provoked the Medicine Emperor Pavilion. With the Medicine Emperor Pavilion status in the ancient medicine world, it was already polite of them not to directly kill Yunxing. Of course, it was because they had considered the Wushuan Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. The other reason was probably because of the Marshal St. General's estate behind Yunxing. If it wasn't for them making a mistake during the free medical consultation, how could they be humiliated by me? Yunxing pouted. Since it has already happened, let's forget about it. I think with your second uncle and the others, the Medicine Emperor Pavilion can at most trick you in terms of medicinal herbs. However, it's not difficult to solve this matter. Zhou Qingchuan was worthy of being called a rare genius of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. The problem that had troubled Yunxing and little Si Antong for a long time was solved by him. As the saying goes, it's better to teach a man to fish than to give him a fish. If you want to buy medicinal herbs from the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, why don't you just start from the medicine farmer? Or rather, find someone to help you grow the herbs. According to Zhou Qingchuan's understanding, including the Medicine Emperor Pavilion, there was a specialized medicine manor. In the medicine manor, only specific medicinal herbs were cultivated to ensure the quality. Yunxing immediately understood after being reminded by Zhou Qingchuan. How could she forget her old profession? Wasn't she a medicine farmer when she was in the banana leaf village? She could directly buy out some farming villages with rich soil and water and contract them to cultivate medicinal herbs all over Zhou State, or even outside Zhou State. Big brother Zhou, you've helped me a lot. You have a wide network of friends, can you help me contact some high-quality medicinal herb seeds? Yunxing decided to immediately write a letter to Lin Yao. No problem. This time, you've helped me a lot. Medicinal herb seeds are just a small matter. Zhou Qingchuan also used his experience to pick out some suitable small villages in Zhou State. Zhou Qingchuan promised Yunxing that he would pay attention to help her find suitable villages in other countries outside Zhou State. After watching Zhou Qingchuan's caravan disappear on the side of the road, Yunxing and the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps continued their journey. Amidst the tranquil mountains and steep ridges, there were three figures standing on a towering tree. TSK, Baiming, that kid is interested in your woman. He's a strong opponent, the young master of the Everlasting Chamber of Commerce. He's young and rich, and he's also infatuated with the little divine doctor. Cheng Bai whistled. You can see the signs from so far away. Why can't I see it? Bu Jiuxiao's face was dull. Yi Baiming's handsome face tensed up. He can't compare to this prince. There was no trace of embarrassment or hesitation in his words. Does Shaoxing know that you're so arrogant? Cheng Bai was choked by Yi Baiming's words. He originally thought that Yi Baiming would agitatedly counterattack, but looking at this kid's appearance, it seemed that he was confident in Yunxing's victory. She doesn't need to know. She can only be this prince's woman. Yi Baiming's face was cold. Since that's the case, why don't you just protect her openly? You made Zhou Xiao and me sneak around like rats. Cheng Bai really didn't know what to do with this childhood playmate of his. After he returned to the Jade Capital, he heard that Yunxing and the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps had already left. Without another word, he dragged the two of them to be his coolies and rushed over. There were several times when they were almost discovered by Yun Songlong. Fortunately, Yi Baiming was alert and managed to resolve the crisis. I also feel that she doesn't need anyone to protect her. Bu Jiuxiao had previously found it very strange that Yi Baiming, who had never had any reaction to any woman, would suddenly be interested in a young female sorcerer. Although the other party's medical skills were very high and her appearance wasn't bad, how could she make Yi be so devoted to her in such a short period of time? Along the way, Bu Jiuxiao discovered that Yunxing was very special. Just in terms of dealing with unexpected situations, her intelligence was comparable to any adult. No wonder the evildoer Yi Baiming would see her in a different light. That's true. I've never seen such a fierce woman. TSK, Could it be that evildoers should be matched with evildoers? I say, if the two of you get together in the future, wouldn't the child be a little demon king? Cheng Bai shuddered. Just thinking about this scene gave him goosebumps. Chapter 307. Cheng Bai was famous for being pampered among the three of them. Normally, when he went out, he would eat and dress well. This time, he had been dragged out by Yi Baiming to follow the heavenly hunting corps. He hadn't eaten or slept well the entire time, so he was filled with resentment. As he complained, he swatted a few mosquitoes to death, not forgetting to complain about his good friend. You keep saying that you're not worried, so why are you still following behind us? You made this young master feed bugs for several nights last night. Cheng Bai's face was filled with resentment. In 3 days, we'll enter the southern border of Zhou State. There's no time to lose. We need to hurry through the night and get to the purple gold mine before them. Yi Baiming's gray eyes flickered as he glanced at Yunxing, who was particularly conspicuous in the crowd. Little wild cat, if you knew the purpose of this prince's trip, you would probably be half dead from anger. Yi Baiming thought of Yunxing's reaction and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. His smile stunned the two men beside him. The three figures disappeared into the boundless sea of trees. Yunxing suddenly sneezed. Just a moment ago, she seemed to have felt someone looking at her from behind. When she turned around, she didn't see anything. Night. In the southern border of Zhou State, there was a quiet village. When the pitch-black night quietly enveloped the village, a large yellow dog was lying on the ground at the entrance of the village. The yellow moon hung above the treetops at the entrance of the village. This was an ordinary village that could be seen everywhere in Zhou State. There weren't many households in the village, only around 100 or so. This kind of village was very common in Zhou State. Because there were many of them and they were located in a remote area, even the map of Zhou State didn't have any detailed records of them. The commoners living in the village only remembered that the village was called Jinko Village because the shape of the village resembled a well. Most of the villagers here made a living by farming. A small number of families made a living by hunting. These villagers had lived here in peace and contentment for over 100 years. This night was the same as countless other nights. It was still quiet. The sound of the woman singing a lullaby and the chirping of the insects in the grass overlapped, rising and falling one after another. Suddenly, the big yellow dog in the village barked, and the village entrance was brightly lit. Almost at the same time, everyone in the village woke up. They were in a panic. The women hugged their children while the men grabbed the hatchet at the head of the bed. A woman in her 30s hurriedly put on her clothes. Her husband also had a machete in his hand. Sixth father, they're here. Those people are here. What should we do? The woman's voice was mixed with the sound of crying. Don't panic, mother. What will come sooner or later. Lu Zi's father comforted his wife sadly. They hurriedly shook their 13-year-old son, Lu Zi, awake. Father, mother, are they here? The youth who was called Liuzi was not tall. When he heard the commotion, he also woke up. However, his parents refused to let him out no matter what. They only forcefully pulled him to the side of the bed. They saw that they lifted the straw mat on the bed. Under the straw mat was a cellar. This cellar was obviously dug not long ago. In addition to storing some water and dry food, it could only accommodate one person. Once the straw mat was covered, the cellar could not be seen. It was very hidden. If one did not look carefully, they would not notice it at all. Father, mother, I don't want to go down. Lu Zi held his parents' hands and did not let go. Although he was not old, he was already a sensible child. During this time, the news from the neighboring villages had already made the whole village panic. Lu Zi, when those evil thieves come, the whole village will suffer. Hide in there and remember, don't come out. The water and dry food inside is enough for you to eat for a day and a night. When there's no more movement outside, you can come out." Lucy's father heard the sound of crying, children crying, and dogs barking outside. He became even more anxious. He gritted his teeth and hit the back of Lucy's head hard. Lucy only saw darkness in front of his eyes and fainted. Lucy's mother wiped her tears and watched Lucy's father put the child in the cellar. The couple covered the child with the straw mat again. At this time, there was a rough knocking sound outside, and the door was knocked open with a bang. A few wolfhounds with 2 heads rushed in. No matter how dark the night was, it would always end. After an unknown period of time, Lucy, who was dry and hungry in the cellar, was awakened by hunger. The cellar was very dark and damp. Remembering his parents' advice, Lucy could only grope around in the cellar. When he touched dry food, he ate it. When he touched a water bag, he drank it. He did not know how much time had passed. Only then did he push open the cellar door. The straw mat was lifted, and Lucy climbed out. The room was a mess. All the tables and chairs were smashed. The walls and the door were all burned black. Obviously, when the evil thieves broke in, they not only robbed people, but also set the room on fire. There was no one in the room. His parents had long disappeared. Lucy pushed open the door. It was dark outside. It turned out that he had unknowingly hidden in the cellar for a day and a night. In the village, there were ruins everywhere. The residents who used to live there seemed to have disappeared overnight. In the village, there was nothing. These neighbors who used to laugh and chat with him had all disappeared overnight. The evil thieves took away all the available able-bodied men. They did not even let go of the women, the elderly, the children, and the livestock. It was that group of people. "These beasts, I'm going to kill them." Lucy was like a trapped beast, roaring from his throat. At this time, his eyes fell on the corner of his house that was burned to ashes. He saw an iron bow. Lucy's ancestors were hunters for generations. This iron bow weighed more than 80 pounds and was the family heirloom of Lucy's family. Lucy's father never let Lucy touch this iron bow before, but tonight, this precious iron bow was abandoned in the corner. Lucy stepped forward and picked up the iron bow. The iron bow was scalding hot from the fire, and a few blisters immediately appeared on the boy's hand. But he couldn't care less about this. He carried the iron bow on his back without hesitation and walked towards the dark south. A tragedy like the one that occurred in Jinko village happened every half a month or so in the southern border of the Great Zhou and later Qin. However, these things were completely unknown to the emperor of Zhou state, who was in the bustling Yujing. A few days later, Yunsheng and the others had already entered the southern border of Zhou state. In the 8 years since Yunsheng came to the boundless land, she had spent most of her time in Jiaoye village in the northern part of Zhou state. Even Yujing city, where she had stayed for almost 2 years, was located in the central part of Zhou state. Mount Daoi's hunter citadel was located in the southern part of Zhou state. However, Mount Daoi was different from the southern part of Zhou state where the purple gold mine was located. Mount Daoi's hunter citadel was located in the southwestern part of Zhou state. Legend had it that the purple gold mine was found in the southeastern part of Zhou state. Chapter 308. After parting ways with Zhou Qingchuan, Yunsheng and the others passed through the difficult Yama Ridge and headed south. As they headed south, the terrain changed from rugged mountain ridges to gentle hills, and the road was much easier to walk on. Yunsheng listened to Yun Sanglang and Zhou Quan's explanations along the way, and had a certain understanding of the southern border of Zhou state. It's been almost 9 years. This was once your second uncle's battlefield. In another 2 days, we will be able to enter Nanming town. As Yun Songlong neared the southern border, he suddenly felt nostalgic. He thought of the situation when he was in his 20s and was filled with emotions. The members of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps also fell silent. At the southern border of the Great Zhou dynasty, 1,000 soldiers of the Yun clan had lost their lives. For many of the members of the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps, among these people, there were their fathers, brothers, and good brothers. Some of them didn't even bring back their corpses. Second uncle, we have to stand up from where we fell. This time, we have to show the soldiers of later Qin the power of our Zhou state. Yunxing encouraged everyone. Good. Well said. We came to the southern border this time not only to investigate the situation of the purple gold mine, but also to find the corpses of our brothers who died on the battlefield. Yun Songlong was defeated and crippled back then. In a hurry, he only had time to bury the corpses of the soldiers. He came this time to fulfill his long-cherished wish of bringing the corpses of his brothers back to the Jade capital. Second uncle, I've already made an appointment with Zhong Yi to meet at the restaurant in the small town ahead. We will continue on our journey and rest for the night in the town ahead. Yunxing looked at the sun and saw that it was already close to dusk. As they neared the borders of Zhou state, they had already shed their hunting uniforms. Yun Songlong had already said that the imperial court of Zhou state had neglected their management of this area and it had already become a lawless area. The citizens of Zhou state and later Qin were mostly married and traded with each other, so it was inevitable that there would be some spies involved. The sudden appearance of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps, which only had 100 people, was undoubtedly very eye-catching. In order to prevent being discovered, they had to disguise themselves. The current Heaven Expedition Hunting Army had already changed into a merchant group. Everyone's clothes were borrowed from Zhou Qingchuan earlier. Yun Songlong's aura was imposing, so he dressed up as a caravan leader. Yunxing also dressed up as a fair-skinned young master. The others also dressed up as the merchant's guards. As for the Oriole, she dressed up as Yunxing's maid. According to the agreement between Yunxing and Zhong Yi, they arrived at a small town in the south called Southern Cliff Town. Everyone, let's rest at the Uli and Rinha inns up ahead. Yun Songlong quickly found 2 inns in town. Due to the large number of people, the caravan had no choice but to find 2 inns. Yunxing took advantage of the time when everyone was busy to inform Yun Songlong and brought Huang Ke to the restaurant in town. Although Southern Cliff Town was only a border town, it was densely populated and there were many caravans coming and going. Yunxing's outfit today was that of an elegant young master. She wore a brocade shirt, short riding boots and a jade crown on her head. Her lips were red and her teeth were white. With a pair of black eyes, she really looked like a young master who had gone out to travel. Huang Ke was also dressed up as a beautiful maid. She wore a pink skirt and a green jacket. When the 2 of them walked together, they attracted the attention of many people. Huang Ke, we are here to inquire about the whereabouts of the purple gold ore vein. Why don't we ask the passers-by along the way? Yunxing and Huang Ke spoke as they walked. Yun Songlong also did not know the exact whereabouts of the purple gold ore vein. Yunxing had also asked before. Then what about the people who had participated in the search for the purple gold ore vein and the miners who had participated in the early development? Yun Songlong hesitated for a moment and did not speak. Yunxing suddenly understood that those people must have been killed. In front of the interests of the country, the lives of the commoners were worthless. As a result, the search for the purple gold ore vein this time was even more difficult. The purple gold ore vein was very likely to be located at the intersection of the vast Zhou state, later Qin and Tang Yuan states. Although the terrain in this area was flat, the area was very wide and spanned hundreds of miles. Yunxing did not have any magical beasts that she could use to search for the ore, and this made her feel a little awkward. Yunxing had thought that the Zong family would be able to find some clues with the help of the Bat King. However, the Zong family had not replied. It looked like the results would definitely be disappointing. The two of them walked into a restaurant and found a table facing the street. They ordered a few dishes and waited for the Zong family to arrive. As they were thinking, a peddler came over. The restaurants in southern Cliff Town were open to the public. Some peddlers and flower sellers would walk around the restaurants and sell some local specialties and trinkets to the merchants passing through the border. This peddler who came over was different from the usual peddlers. He had a careful look on his face and lowered his voice as he said, "This noble young master, looking at you, you don't look like you are here to do business. I have something here, do you want to take a look?" The peddler's eyesight was not bad. He saw that Yunxing's clothes did not look like those weather-beaten merchants and thought that he was a young master from one of those aristocratic families. The peddlers in this area were all shrewd people. They knew very well that these young masters were most interested in adventures. When the Oriole saw this, he was about to chase him away, but was stopped by Yunxing's gaze. "Little brother, what are you selling?" Yunxing's face was full of smiles. Seeing that this young master was very amiable, the peddler became even more enthusiastic. He carefully took out a piece of animal skin paper and spread it out in front of Yunxing. Yunxing had just seen the words "map of the mineral vein," when the peddler kept the map away. "Young master, did you see it clearly?" "That's great news. I'll tell it to you in secret." The peddler lowered his voice and hid the map well, afraid that someone else would see it. Map of the mineral vein. Could it be the map of the purple gold mine? Yunxing was still thinking. "Go away, how dare you deceive us to come here?" The peddler was grabbed by the pocket and circled around. The peddler did not even have time to shout before he was thrown out of the restaurant like a stone. There were screams coming from the street. The Zong family was half angry and half amused as he stood by the side. "Zong family, what is going on?" Yunxing finally understood that there was a problem with the map. "Hey, that is a scammer. There are many people selling these kinds of deceptive things in this area. There are more than 10 versions of the so-called mineral vein map." The Zong personality was annoyed. He took out more than 10 mineral vein maps from his storage ring and showed them to Yunxing. It turned out that the Zong family came here a month ago because he wanted to complete the task that Yunxing had given him to find the mineral vein. He had also asked around. In the end, he met the peddler just now. Although the Zong family was old, he had not really walked around the continent for a long time. He was not careful and he was cheated by the peddler. When he took the so-called map of the mineral vein and searched for it in the mountains and plains for more than 10 days, he found that the map of the mineral vein was fake. After he came back, he gave the peddler a good beating and took away the so-called dozens of versions of the mineral vein map in the peddler's hands. Today, he received Yunxing's signal and immediately rushed over. Who knew that he would meet another scammer? Chapter 309. When Yunxing heard this, she also felt that it was very funny. But immediately, she also knew that the Zong personality's investigation for more than a month probably did not yield any results. "Then did you find the villages along the way and ask the local people?" Yunxing believed that the mineral vein was discovered 8 or 9 years ago, and the villagers in the nearby villages would definitely know something. "Speaking of the villagers, I made an unexpected discovery. Recently, a few villages near Zhou State have been raided one after another. The villagers of a village disappeared without a trace in just one night." The Zong personality had also thought of asking the villagers in the nearby villages, but he did not get any information. But he did find out that a few villages had been wiped out. "Oh, where are the villages you mentioned?" After Yunxing asked around, she and the Zone personality rushed to the villages he mentioned. It's nearby, but at this time, we can't enter those villages anymore. The nearby officials have found people to seal the villages. The Zone personality was a little embarrassed. He was a sacred beast summoner, but he could not even do such a small thing. Then we can only think of another way. Let's go back and meet up with second uncle first. Yunxing also had no other ideas. When the few of them walked out of the restaurant, they suddenly heard a commotion. The restaurant was located in the busiest area of the town, and the market was just outside the door. It was noon now, when the market was the most crowded. At the entrance of the market, a young man was kneeling. There was a card written in front of him, but there were a few words written on the card: selling my body for revenge. She had seen people selling their bodies to bury their parents, but she had never seen anyone selling their bodies for revenge. And those who sold their bodies to bury their parents were usually delicate and weak women, but the one kneeling in front of her was a young man. It was also the first time that Yunxing had encountered such a thing, and she could not help but be a little interested, so she took the initiative to walk forward. On the card, there were a few lines of words, and the general idea was that the young man had a deep blood feud, and it was difficult to take revenge. He was willing to be a slave for life and find a powerful person who could teach him powerful martial arts or magic. As long as he could take revenge successfully, the young man was willing to be a cow or a horse for life to repay the other party's kindness. This was rare. The young man's cards didn't specify who his enemy was. Yunxing secretly looked at the young man from the side. He was about the same age as the Oriole. His body was very sturdy, and his hands and feet were thick. His hands and feet looked like he had practiced martial arts. His appearance was ordinary, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was a very ordinary young farmer. There were no magical elemental fluctuations around him, and his physique could only be considered average. Yunxing's thoughts were also the thoughts of the other spectators. Most of them were unwilling to offend an unknown enemy for a youth with average aptitude. As a result, there were many people watching, but very few people actually asked about it. The young man knelt on the ground with his head lowered. He didn't look at the crowd's expression, he just bit his lips tightly. Master, let's go. This kid's talent is average and he doesn't look very bright. The Zone personality curled his lips. His eyes were sharp as he shook his head while looking. Although it wasn't a time of turmoil and chaos, there were many robberies and killings in the borderlands. This young man must be kneeling here because his family was killed and he couldn't take revenge on his own. The Oriole wanted to help because she was also from a poor family. However, she wasn't a powerful magician or warrior, so she could only watch from the side. The crowd gradually dispersed, and Yunxing and the other two were just about to leave. A waiter came out of the restaurant. When he saw the young man kneeling on the ground like a block of wood, he was instantly furious. It's you again, Liuzi. Why are you here again? How many times have I told you not to block the restaurant's front? It's bad luck. The waiter raised his hand to push the young man. The waiter was about 23 or 24 years old and had a strong body. Under his push, the young man was unexpectedly pushed to the ground. The young man fell to the ground and didn't move, as if he was dead. It's over, he's dead. The onlookers at the side discussed. The waiter was so scared that his face turned pale. He had just pushed him lightly, how did he die? He just fainted. Help him to the side. I'm a doctor, I'll take a look. Yunxing frowned and looked at Liuzi's unusually pale face. The waiter didn't want to get into trouble with a life, so he hurriedly carried Liuzi to a shady spot at the side of the restaurant with the sect master. Yunxing checked his breathing and pulse, and her nose moved slightly. She smelled blood. When she lifted the clothes on Liuzi's back, everyone gasped. Liuzi's back was densely covered with wounds. The wounds looked like arrow wounds and whip wounds, and each of them was so deep that the bone could be seen. If this kind of wound was used on an ordinary person, it would be enough to make them bedridden. Yet, all of them had landed on a young man. One could imagine how much pain Liuzi had endured to escape with his life. Yunxing scraped away the rotten flesh on Liuzi's back and took out a hemostatic agent. She applied it on Liuzi's body, and the bleeding quickly stopped. "Young master, can you save him? He looks very similar to my younger brother who unfortunately passed away in his early years." "Qiao begs you," Qiao begged Yunxing. "Waiter, where is this young man from? Why is he kneeling at the entrance of the restaurant?" Yunxing heard the waiter's tone just now and seemed to know this young man. "Guest, you see, he'll be fine, right? I don't really want to chase him away. I know this young man. His father, Liuzi, is a hunter. A few years ago, this young man and his father often sent fresh beast meat to our restaurant." The waiter saw that Yunxing was a doctor at such a young age and couldn't help but respect her. He didn't dare to hide anything and told her about Liuzi's identity. What about his family? It was really inconvenient for Yunxing to bring an unfamiliar young man with her on this trip. "They're all gone," the waiter said with some hesitation. He looked at Liuzi, who was covered in wounds, and finally said it. Liuzi's family was originally very happy and blissful. He had a father and a mother and lived in Jinko village, which was not far from Southern Cliff Town. The village often sent game and rice to the town. But just a few nights ago, a group of bandits suddenly came to Jinko village and ransacked the entire village, not even leaving behind a single animal. Liuzi was lucky enough to survive. But this child also didn't care about his life. After he escaped, not only did he not leave Jinko village, he even came to the village and pawned his ancestral bow, saying that he was going to take revenge. He first heard that there was a professional hunter in town, so he spent all his money to hire a hunter. But not long after, he heard that the hunter was also killed. Liuzi was lucky enough to escape. However, his body was severely injured. He didn't have the money to treat his injuries, and only thought about revenge, so he knelt in the bustling town every day, begging people to be apprenticed to him. After a long time, the merchants in town were afraid of him and didn't want him to block the door. The waiter was also ordered by his boss to chase him away, but who knew that Liuzi was hungry and cold, and with his injuries, he fainted. Everyone in the village went missing. It's unknown whether they're alive or dead. Don't the authorities or the nearby guards care about such a thing? Yunxing was also in disbelief. ***, thank you for Min and Ling Jingdi's tips ***. Chapter 310. Ah, young master, you must have come from a big city. You don't understand the situation of our small border villages at all. The waiter was used to this. Southern Cliff Town and the nearby villages are not under the jurisdiction of the government. Look at our land. There are people from later Qin, Zhou State, and Tang Yuan. The government of any country doesn't dare to control these people. The waiter told Yunxing some of the local situation. Yunxing, who came from Yujing, did not know these things. The area around Southern Cliff Town was not under the jurisdiction of the nearby government, but was under the jurisdiction of the nearby garrison. Yunxing remembered that second uncle once said that the current garrison in this area was the nephew of the Marquis of Jiayuan. The Marquis of Jiayuan was also the second general in the imperial court after the residents of Yun. When the incident happened in the nearby villages, the garrison only rushed over a few days later after receiving the news. However, they only brought a few soldiers over and sealed off the village. After investigating, they did not find any clues and left the matter unsettled. Because of this, the people of the nearby villages were in a state of panic. The villages that were slightly richer would hire some hunters to protect them. The villages that were poor could only pray to the heavens that misfortune would not come to their door. The waiter of the restaurant was also from a nearby village. His family was also worried day and night about that unknown group of bandits coming to their door. Speaking of those bandits, they were really very mysterious. They came and went without a trace. Even if the government wanted to investigate, they could not find any clues. As a result, the rumors of the villagers' livestock going missing for no reason became more and more ridiculous. Zongshige, is the Jinko village that the waiter mentioned one of the villages that were attacked? Yunxing asked. Yes, master. Zongshige nodded. Hearing the waiter's words, everyone sympathized with Lu Zi even more. In fact, the information that he heard was similar to what the waiter said. That group of mysterious bandits came and went without a trace. Even he did not find any clues. Let's take him back first. When he wakes up, we'll think of a way. Yunxing had a feeling that she might find something unexpected on Lu Zi. When Yunxing returned to the inn, Zhou Quan had already settled the hunters down. Where's my second uncle? Yunxing wanted to tell Yun Songlong what she had heard and listen to his opinion. After all, Yun Songlong had stayed in the border area for a while and was more familiar with the surrounding situation. Yunxing also wanted to inquire about some information regarding the Marquis of Jiayuan's army through Yun Songlong. Commander went out, but he didn't say where he went. He was still with everyone earlier, saying that he was going to pay a visit to Marquis of Jiayuan's garrison. When everyone turned around, he was gone. Zhou Quan was surprised to see that Yunxing had brought an injured youth back. Yunxing looked around and realized that Yun Songlong had left in a hurry. He didn't even take his horse with him. If he went out of the city to inspect the terrain, he would definitely take the horses with him. You went out alone. Didn't you leave a message? Yunxing felt that it was a bit strange. According to her understanding of her second uncle, if he had something to do, he would definitely notify her in advance. It should be. Actually, I was also a bit hazy at that time. Zhou Quan rubbed his head in embarrassment. We were just settling down the horses and luggage outside when someone was busking on the street. The music was so good that I was entranced by it. It wasn't just Zhou Quan. The other hunters who were present also had the same reaction. What kind of artist? Yunxing looked at the street again, but didn't see any artists. It seemed to be a young man playing a flute. Zhou Quan thought for a long time, but still couldn't remember the artist's appearance. You guys, take good care of this youth. If he wakes up, calm him down first. Zhong Yi, Huang Ke, the three of us will go out of town together to find second uncle. Yunxing felt a wave of unease in her heart. She vaguely felt that the artist wasn't simple. Standing at the entrance of the town, the road in front of them split into two. One led to the south, the other led to the north. They didn't know which side Yun Songlong went to. In order to make it easier to find him, Yunxing and Zhong Yi split up. They agreed that if they didn't find Yun Songlong before sunset, they would return to the inn first. Huang Ke's legs weren't as fast as Yunxing's, so Yunxing simply cast a levitation technique on her. The two of them went to the south of town to search. Miss, why are you so worried? Did something happen to the general? Huang Ke knew Yunxing. Even if Empress collapsed in front of her, she wouldn't easily change her expression. But at this time, Yunxing's expression was gloomy. She couldn't help but worry. You might not have noticed, but when I came back just now, Zhou Quan and the others' eyes were still a bit blurry. It was clear that someone used a special method to hypnotize them. Yunxing's Shenong Eye actually had a similar effect. But she knew that if she only used the current Shenong Eye, it was absolutely impossible to hypnotize a martial marquis expert like Yun Songlong. The other party had secretly hypnotized Zhou Quan and lured Yun Songlong away as a prostitute. The other party's strength, at least in the aspect of hypnotism, was much higher than her own. The only person Yunshinga could think of was someone from Grand Emperor City. The two of them hurried all the way. Unknowingly, they were already 5 to 6 li away. After leaving the town, the front looked very desolate. Further ahead was the intersection of Zhou State, later Qin, and Tangyuan. Because this area was remote, it was mixed with good people and bad people. Yunxing had no choice but to slow down her movements. But there was still no trace of Yun Songlong ahead. The sky was getting darker and darker. It was almost dusk. Yunxing still couldn't find Yun Songlong's whereabouts. She couldn't help but wonder if she was looking in the wrong direction. She only hoped that Zhong Yi's luck would be better. Just as Yunxing was about to turn around and return to the town first, she and the Oriole paused at the same time. Exclamation point. Yunxing and the Oriole looked at each other. Oriole, did you hear anything? Yunxing frowned. It seems to be the sound of a flute. This flute sound is very familiar. The Oriole wasn't very sure either. She looked ahead blankly. It's the flute sound. It should be not far away. Di Hong Song. This flute sound is very similar to the incomplete song you played earlier. Yunxing couldn't help but become cautious. Suddenly hearing the familiar Di Hong song in this kind of place, and the song was obviously much smoother and more skillful than any of the times the Oriole had played earlier. Could it be that the people from Di Hong City had come? Although Yunxing wasn't very proficient in music, her memory was very good. Yun Songlong had also taught her 3 chapters of Di Hong song. The two of them didn't hesitate and immediately rushed forward. The field of vision in front gradually widened. The scene in front of them made Yunxing and the Oriole stop in their tracks. What did they see? Chapter 311. An hour ago, not long after Yunxing went to town. Yun Songlong had just settled the hunter's quarters when he saw that Yunxing had yet to return. He discussed with Zhou Quan whether they should go to the nearby Marquis of Jiayuan's garrison to ask for news. After the Yun family troops left, the Marquis of Jiayuan took the opportunity to ask the Zhou state's emperor for an assignment for his nephew. Just as Yun Songlong and Zhou Quan were discussing, he suddenly heard charming music drifting from the street. When he heard the music, Yun Songlong felt his entire body tremble. A name that had been hidden in the bottom of his heart for a long time entered his mind. Shahua. It was a piece of music that Yuan Shahua had played for him when he first met her in order to repay him for saving her life. Ever since his hands were crippled, Yun Songlong had never touched a musical instrument again. At the same time, he had also hidden his longing for Yuan Shahua deep in his heart. In order to sever his feelings for Yuan Shahua, he kept thinking about how Yuan Shahua had lied to him back then. Yuan Shahua might have already been married. But all of this was instantly shattered when he heard the music. He couldn't help but look back, searching for that familiar and beautiful figure that made him feel endless pain at the same time. He couldn't find Yuan Shahua in the crowd. The music brought him along and he couldn't help but take a step forward. He didn't even have time to say goodbye to Zhou Quan and the others before leaving Southern Cliff Town. The music brought him forward. Yun Songlong also left Southern Cliff Town. Yun Songlong didn't ride a horse. He just walked along the main road outside Southern Cliff Town. Yun Songlong's legs were strong. He walked all the way and unknowingly, he had already left Southern Cliff Town and arrived at a hillside. At the end of the plain was Southern Cliff City. Until he entered the graveyard. Yun Songlong stood on the hillside with his hands behind his back, looking at Southern Cliff City from afar. His memories unknowingly drifted back to 8 or 9 years ago, the scene when he met Yuan Shahua. He recalled her every frown and smile when she played the zither. He recalled the situation when they first met. Yun Songlong muttered bitterly to himself. Sha Hua, how have you been all these years? You should have been married for many years. Yun Songlong sighed. With great difficulty, he walked down the hill. On the opposite side of the hill was an endless plain. The border was located in the southeast. The plants in this area were very lush, but this plain seemed very bleak. On the plains, there were no trees. There were only tombstones. This was the place where the Yun clan soldiers were buried. Those who were once Yun Songlong's closest comrades were all lying here. The sound of a flute drifted into his ears. The sound of the flute rose and fell. Yun Songlong, who was immersed in his memories, did not notice it at all. A scene suddenly appeared in his mind. On the battlefield, flesh and blood splattered everywhere as countless soldiers fell one by one. General, the brothers will cover you. Leave quickly. General, bring my corpse back to the Jade Capital and pass it to my wife. General, leave now. The sound of the flute suddenly changed. It went from high pitch to low pitch. It sounded like weeping. Yun Songlong felt like there were galloping horse hooves beside his ears. It also felt like there was a bugle horn. His eyes turned hazy. Memories flooded in, and the originally enchanting music changed abruptly. Yun Songlong, who was already immersed in the sound of the flute, screamed in pain and knelt down. A silver-robed man was already standing in the cemetery. His appearance was otherworldly. If Yun Songlong took a closer look, he would realize that the man looked very similar to Yuan Shahua. This man was Yuan Shahua's younger brother, Yuan Bupo. Yuan Bupo looked at Yun Songlong from afar. He saw that Yun Songlong was holding his head in pain. His hand had indeed recovered. He would return the pain he brought to his sister. Yuan Bupo held a purple jade flute in his hand. The design of the flute was very special. His plump lips were pressed against the purple flute, and music kept flowing from his lips. The sixth movement of the Grand Emperor, the Song of Life and Death. It could bring out the darkest side of a person's heart and make them immerse in the painful memories of the past. Yun Songlong was completely immersed in it. There was only endless death in his eyes. Yuan Shahua's departure and the brothers of the Yun family's army falling one by one were all because of him. He had gone against the Grand Emperor. Let's end my sister's pain. Yuan Bupo's flute changed again. Just as he was about to kill Yun Songlong, two figures came from the other side. It's General Yun. Huang Ke and Yun Sheng were shocked and they saw Yun Songlong in the cemetery, who loved pain like a trapped beast. At the same time, they also noticed the man standing in the middle of the cemetery. The man was holding a purple jade flute. The flute music was the source of Yun Songlong's pain. Yun Sheng and Huang Ke tried to get closer, but they found that they could not move forward. The two of them were only 100 steps away from Yun Songlong, but they could not move forward. There seemed to be an extra wall in front of them. The two of them could not pass through that wall. This wall was very special. It was not formed by magic elements, nor was it a wall of fighting aura. It's a sound wave wall. This person must be from the Grand Emperor City. Yun Sheng did not know the young man's intention. He did not look at the two of them, as if he did not care about them at all. What should we do? General looks like he's in pain. Huang Ke was anxious. Huang Ke, try playing the Di Hong song. When Yun Sheng brought Huang Ke out, she already had a premonition that Yun Songlong's sudden departure might be related to the Grand Emperor City. However, she could not be sure if this person was related to Yuan Shahua or Xian Wuji. This man was obviously torturing Yun Songlong, but he did not seem to have any intention of killing him. Otherwise, he would have had plenty of opportunities to kill Yun Songlong in that period of time when Yun Songlong had lost control of himself. Huang Ke nodded. Ever since she learned the Di Hong song, she had been practicing diligently. Now, she had comprehended the second movement of the Di Hong song. The weapon she chose was very special. It was the bone guqin left behind by her mother. Huang Ke took off the bone guqin from her back. She tuned the instrument and plucked the strings. Her slender fingers plucked the strings. The strings of the guqin sang softly. A sound like a stream after a spring rain rang out. Di Hong song. Yuan Bupo, who was in the graveyard, raised his eyebrows when he heard the familiar music. There was a hint of contempt in his heart. At the same time, he felt some resentment towards Yuan Shahua. His elder sister had really fallen in love with Yun Sanglong. She had even taught him the Di Hong song. Unfortunately, how could these ordinary people who were born outside the Grand Emperor city understand the true essence of the Di Hong song? Today, he, Yuan Bupo, would show these ordinary people what the real Di Hong song was. Chapter 312. The corners of Yuan Bupo's lips curled up and he looked even more enchanting. He started to walk slowly and the flute music that flowed out from the purple flute became more lively. Hearing the changes in the flute music, Yun Sheng, who was not very proficient in music, could only look at the Oriole's expression. The Oriole had obviously noticed the changes in the flute music. She immediately adjusted the music and tried her best to eliminate the disturbance of the flute music. Yuan Bupo was a proud person. How could he allow Di Hong Cheng's song to be tainted? Listening to the man's music and looking at her instrument, she knew that he had only learned 2 chapters of Di Hong song. A dazzling smile appeared on the man's face. The flute in his hand flashed with a purple light, and a force that resembled both fighting aura and magical elemental energy surged out. His slender fingers quickly pressed on the body of the flute and the original music changed instantly. The flute music suddenly became faster. If the original flute music was like a small stream, at this moment, the flute music had become a majestic river. After the storm, the vigorous river water that poured down was extremely powerful. Every time it fell, it would make one's mind sway. However, as the flute music became louder, Yun Xing realized that the Oriole's hand movements became faster and faster. At first, she thought that the Oriole was fighting against the man's flute music. However, as she went on, she realized that the Oriole's hand movements became faster and faster. That speed had already exceeded the speed that her hand could bear. The Oriole was controlled by the man's flute music. Her fingers seemed to have lost control and the music became messy. The man's flute music led her music and it became faster and faster. Not only that, the Oriole's originally pale face turned red. Oriole. Yun Xing saw that the situation was not good and immediately warned her. The Oriole quivered when Yun Xing called her. Suddenly, there was a metallic taste in her throat and she spat out a mouthful of blood. The bone instrument in her hand also made a bang, and one of the strings broke. The sharp strings cut her finger and the strings were immediately covered in blood. Master, he's too strong. The Oriole only managed to say one sentence before she fainted. How could such a mediocre person learn Di Hong song? Damn it, Yun Xing checked Oriole's body and found that the Do Qi in her body was very chaotic. Oriole had only been learning Do Qi for a few months, so her foundation was not stable enough. If it wasn't for her beast blood fusion, the sound of the flute would have injured her internal organs. Yun Xing hurriedly checked on her condition. Fortunately, she was only injured by the other party's flute music and did not have any internal injuries. You can be considered a man, but you actually let a woman fight. There was disdain in the eyes of the man with the purple flute. Yun Xing was dressed as a man today. Yuan Bupe saw her handsome face and had a good impression of her. However, he did not expect that she would ask her subordinate to attack. This made Yuan Bupe look down on him. Yunsheng was completely infuriated by the disdain on the other party's face after witnessing her second uncle's serious injury and her second uncle's pain. Unfortunately, she did not know how to play music. Yunsheng frowned and looked at Oriol's bone guqin. Yunsheng took a deep breath and suppressed the restlessness and violence in her heart. She closed her eyes and recalled Oriol's flute music. She didn't know who this silver-clothed man was in Grand Emperor City, but from the fact that he could control Yunsanglang's divine sense and severely injure Oriol with just a flute tune, the other party's skills were definitely not low. However, judging by his age, he was definitely not Xian Wuji. If she left, second uncle would fall into his hands. If she did not leave, how was she going to break this sound wall? This wall was obviously unbreakable by magic and do qi. She could only use the Di Hong song to determine the winner. How many chapters of the Di Hong song did he cultivate? She did not care anymore. She only had 3 chapters of the Di Hong song. She would use the 3rd chapter of the Di Hong City song. Yunsheng recalled the 3 chapters of the Di Hong song that Yunsanglang had taught her. Then, she slowly recalled Oriol's flute music. Yunsheng's memory was good to begin with. She had only seen it once, but she had already memorized most of the Oriol's gestures. Yuan Bukpa thought that one of them would retreat after being injured by the flute music. However, Yunsheng did not retreat. Instead, she closed her eyes all of a sudden. After a while, the young man opened his eyes all of a sudden. As soon as he opened his eyes, Yuan Bukpa could not help but take a few more glances at his dark eyes. He sat in front of the guqin again. He looked at the guqin carefully before he began to play it. Si. La. An unpleasant, blunt sound was unusually ear-piercing in the empty field. One of the guqin's strings was broken. It was not an expensive guqin, so its tone was mediocre to begin with. However, Oriol's skills were quite good. Hence, he managed to avoid the flaws of the guqin due to the lack of tone. However, Yunsheng destroyed the last bit of beauty of the sound as soon as she took over the instrument. To Yuan Bukpa, who was proficient in music, the most painful thing was listening to a music addict play. Yuan Bukpa could not help but frown. What the hell is this? Yuan Bukpa almost cursed it out loud. He just realized that the young man who looked rather pleasing to the eye was tone-deaf to such an extent. He might not even be able to differentiate between the most basic instruments of the guqin. He did not know how to play the guqin at all. If you don't know how to play the guqin, why are you playing the guqin? Listening to the intermittent sound of the guqin, one could barely tell that he was playing the 3rd chapter of the Di Hong song. It was such a waste. If the owner of the Di Hong song heard this, he might have crawled out of his coffin in anger. However, he did not give up and played the song again after the young man finished playing it while stuttering. The second time. It was only the second time, but Yuan Bukpa's frown grew even deeper. This was because he realized that the young man's smoothness during the second time was much smoother than the first time. The sound of the guqin was beginning to take shape during the 3rd time. Could it be that he was practicing the Di Hong song earlier? Or is this his first time playing the Di Hong song? Yuan Bukpa's initial anger turned into shock. Only those who had played the Di Hong song would know how difficult it was to play the Di Hong song. Even Yuan Bukpa, who was known as the rare genius in 500 years in Di Hong City, could only play the Di Hong song in its entirety after practicing it 10 times. However, the young man before him was stuttering and managed to play the 3rd chapter of the Di Hong song after 3 tries. Great! You're brave. Since that's the case, I'll play with you again. Yunsheng's poor guqin sound had unintentionally triggered Yuan Bukpa's competitive spirit. Unknowingly, Yuan Bukpa had set his target today as Yunsheng. Yunsanglang was still in a daze, but he had stopped groaning in pain. Yuan Bupo glanced at Yun Songlong and put away his purple flute. Yun Songlong, you don't deserve to call my sister by her name. You are Shahua's younger brother, Bupo. Yun Songlong remembered that Yun Shahua had once mentioned that she had a younger brother in her family. What do you mean? Shahua. Yun Songlong was anxious to know where Yuan Shahua was. However, when he saw the surrounding tombstones, he didn't want to ask any further. She's fine. You don't need to worry about her. Yun Songlong, my sister doesn't know that I'm looking for you today. You're quite lucky. I originally wanted to make you go crazy and break down. I didn't expect this kid to accidentally ruin my plan. Yuan Bupo glanced at Yunxing unhappily. His sound wave wall was actually broken by a music addict. If news of this were to spread, would he, Yuan Bupo, still have a foothold in Grand Emperor City? What's your name? You're injured today and the guqin you're using is too weak. Another day, after you've recovered, I'll fight you again. Yuan Bupo was young and hot-blooded. Although Yunxing had broken his sound wave wall earlier, he could tell that Yunxing was no match for him. He didn't want to take advantage of her and planned to fight another day with Yunxing. Before Yunxing could reply, a coquettish voice was heard from behind. Brother Bupo, I've finally found you. When he heard that voice, Yuan Bupo's scalp went numb and he cursed in his heart. Oh no, he was careless earlier and was competing with someone. However, he forgot that the troublesome woman from Grand Emperor City had also left to travel. Wasn't he caught by her again? Yunsheng's eyes lit up. A fiery red figure descended from the sky. It was an extremely beautiful woman. Her skin was fair and she had a pair of slightly upturned red phoenix eyes. Her brows were like distant mountains and her lips were like fire. The young lady wore a gorgeous headdress on her head. Looking at her body, it was actually an 8th-rank four-eyed bird. It's you. The young lady didn't come alone. There was a middle-aged man standing behind her. The man's face was thin. Although he was good-looking, he was a little mean. Almost at the same time, Yun Songlong and the middle-aged man were shocked. Even if the man behind the young lady had turned into ashes, Yun Songlong could still remember the man's face clearly. Yun Songlong gritted his teeth and said 3 words. Xian Wuji. When he said Xian Wuji's name, Yun Songlong's face was filled with anger. His body immediately exuded a terrifying fighting aura. Yun Songlong met Xian Wuji again in the graveyard that was filled with the skeletons of the Yun family army. Yunxing then realized that the person who had come was the young master of Grand Emperor City, Xian Wuji, who had an irreconcilable feud with her second uncle. When enemies meet, their eyes would turn red. Yuan Bupo also had a bad feeling. He didn't expect Xian Mimi to come out with Xian Wuji. Fortunately, they had bumped into Yun Songlong. Xian Wuji didn't recognize Yun Songlong at first. However, when he felt the strong murderous aura from Yun Songlong, he couldn't help but take a few more glances at him. When he saw Yun Songlong's face, which was obviously much younger than his own, and his hands, which were as good as new, fear and anger quickly swallowed his rationality like a ferocious sea. Yun Songlong's hands were actually healed. Not only that, his appearance and aura were exactly the same as before. No, it should be said that his cultivation seemed to have risen to a whole new level. I was wondering who it was. So it's General Yun. Why? Do you feel guilty when you see the graveyard of the soldiers who died tragically for you? Xian Wuji saw that Yuan Bupo and Yun Songlong were meeting privately. He assumed that Yuan Bupo was entrusted by his sister, Yuan Shahua, to come here. Jealousy filled his heart. Yun Songlong, if I can't have it this time, you won't either. Xian Wuji. Yun Songlong felt his head explode. He couldn't wait to tear Xian Wuji into pieces. Second uncle. Yunxing suddenly spoke. Yun Songlong's mind, which was originally clouded by hatred and anger, calmed down a little. Yunsheng was also on guard against Yun Songlong. Beside her, the red and green four-eyed birds were glaring at Yunsheng and the others. There were a total of 3 people from Grand Emperor City. On their side, there were only Yun Songlong and himself. The Oriole was severely injured. If they really fought, they would be the ones at a disadvantage. Yunsheng's safety was the most important thing. Thank you Beiyu, Meidai, you and UD for your tips. Chapter 314. He had to take revenge but he could not act recklessly. The tombstones around him reminded Yun Songlong of the terrible consequences he had suffered back then. Mimi, what are you doing here? Yuan Bupo had a headache. He had finally gotten rid of Xian Mimi but he did not expect her to pester him again. I'm here to look for you. Why are you with them? Have you forgotten that Yun Songlong is the enemy of Grand Emperor City? Who was the one who harmed Sister Xiahua? Yun Songlong was stunned by Xian Mimi's words. Hearing Yuan Xiaohua's name, he blurted out, what happened to Xiahua? She's here too. Yun Songlong, Xiahua is my fiancée. What does her condition have to do with you? Xian Wuji was furious. He thought he had completely destroyed Yun Songlong but he did not expect Yun Songlong to be standing in front of him. Young city governor, please watch your words. My sister has already broken off the engagement with you. She has nothing to do with you anymore. Yuan Bupo was unhappy with Xian Wuji's words. Although he did not like Yun Songlong, compared to Xian Wuji and Yun Songlong's unruly sister, he found Yun Songlong more pleasing to the eye. In Yuan Bupo's eyes, Xian Wuji, the young city governor, did not have much prestige. In a place like Grand Emperor City, the experts were superior. A young city governor who had his cultivation damaged and could not break through would not be able to do anything. Xian Wuji had never been humiliated like this before. Moreover, it was in front of his archenemy, Yun Songlong. He was instantly enraged. Yuan Bupo, don't think that you can challenge me just because you have talent. If it was not for your engagement with Mimi, I would have dealt with you long ago. As soon as he heard about the marriage agreement, Yuan Bupo was annoyed. He stole a glance at Yunsheng as if he was possessed. She was looking at him and Xian Mimi with interest. Deal with you. You. Yuan Bupo panicked when Yunsheng looked at him. What engagement? I did not agree to it. I already have someone in my heart. Xian Mimi's face turned pale when she heard him. Yuan Bupo, what did you say? Don't you know that the city has already decided to let us enter the tomb together? Who is your sweetheart? Is it Lu Axian and her sister from the city? Or is it one of your slutty servant girls? What nonsense are you guessing? Yuan Bupo felt like he was a playboy after being questioned by her like that. He thought for a moment, then suddenly rushed in front of Yunsheng. He pulled Yunsheng, who was listening intently, over and pointed at Yunsheng without hesitation. He said without blushing, the person I like is her. Yuan Bupo played the flute quickly, but his actions were even faster. He grabbed Yunsheng's hand and when he touched her hand, he realized that Yunsheng's hand was very delicate. It was icy cold, completely different from the rough joints of ordinary men. For a moment, she was actually reluctant to let go. Yunsheng looked like she was watching a good show, but in the next second, she realized that everyone's eyes were focused on her. Yunsheng wanted to say something, but she swallowed her words when she saw Yuan Bupo's warning look. Him. That's impossible. Yuan Bupo, it's your first time meeting him. How could you like him? Moreover, he's a man. Xian Mimi was so angry that her eyes were wide open. She wanted to rush forward and pull Yunxing and Yuan Bupo away. Yunxing nodded frantically when she heard what Xian Mimi said. She could not help but agree, that's right. It's our first time meeting. However, Yuan Bupo looked at Yunxing affectionately. He used the most affectionate voice he had ever used in his entire life to say, haven't you heard of love at first sight? Don't you know that if you like someone, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman? You and I definitely didn't fall in love at first sight. Yunxing recalled that she almost had a fight to the death with Yuan Bupo earlier. She could only blame Xian Mimi for coming too late. She only watched the second half but did not see the first half. You. Him. Impossible. You. I'm talking about you. Who are you? Xian Mimi was so angry that she lost her mind. She pointed at Yunxing with a furious expression. Me? My name is Yunxing. Yunxing knew that Yuan Bupo was using her as a shield. Initially, she wanted to deny it. However, when she saw the Xian siblings' constipated faces, she felt happy from the bottom of her heart. She decided not to admit it or deny it. She forced herself to play along with Yuan Bupo. Yunxing. Another Yun who dares to steal my man. Xian Mimi raised her brows. A guqin appeared in her hand all of a sudden. The guqin's color was simple and it emitted a powerful energy wave. Xian Mimi leaving Imperial Grand City this time was originally for the sake of traveling. In order to persuade her to leave Grand Emperor City with him, Xian Wuji used a famous guqin as a gift to buy a Saint-grade guqin for her. With this guqin, Xian Mimi's Di Hong song would be much more powerful. Yuan Bupo did not expect that his momentary interest would drag Yunxing into danger. It's the seventh guqin. Xian Mimi, come at me if you have anything. Don't hurt her. Yuan Bupo was so anxious that he hid Yunxing behind him. His unconscious action made Xian Mimi even more jealous. She and Yuan Bupo were childhood sweethearts. Yuan Bupo had always been arrogant due to his extraordinary talent and family background. In Grand Emperor City, even though she was the city lord's beloved daughter, he never looked at her in the eye, let alone ordinary women. However, today, he was very protective of that handsome young man. This made Xian Mimi even more suspicious of their relationship. The situation was tense and they were on the verge of a fight. Right at this moment, a black shadow was seen flying over like a bolt of lightning. A giant bat descended from the sky. The zone personality suddenly appeared. Master, I found you. Leader Yun, you're here too. That's great. The zone personality walked towards the north. However, he did not find Yun Songlang's shadow even after searching for a long time. He knew that he must have gone the wrong way. Hence, he turned back and looked towards the south. After searching for a while, he found a graveyard in front of him. Yunxing's aura was beside the graveyard. The zone personality's appearance changed the situation on the battlefield. As soon as the commander-level Bat King appeared, Xian Mimi's two demonic birds could not help but cry out in fear. Saint Beast Summoner. Yuan Bupo and Xian Wuji also recognized this sorcerer who looked to be in his early 30s. However, his summoning abilities were shocking. He was a Saint Beast Summoner. Moreover, this person even addressed the handsome young man as master. If Yuan Shahua had truly betrayed Yun Songlang back then, he would definitely not behave in such a manner. There must be some misunderstanding. However, since Yuan Bupo appeared at the border, it meant that Yuan Shahua was probably nearby. Yunxing planned to find out where the Yuan siblings were after settling the purple gold mine incident. She wanted to resolve the conflict between her second uncle and her future sister-in-law. Master, when I was following them, I discovered something. The zone persona had coincidentally passed by an abandoned village when he was chasing towards the north. Oh. What did you discover? That village looked like it was abandoned not long ago. The situation inside was the same as the one in Liosi's village that we met earlier. There were some Zhou state soldiers guarding the entrance of the village. I walked around the village when they were not paying attention and discovered the aura of a demonic beast. The zone master was a summoner and was very sensitive to the aura of demonic beasts. Aura of demonic beasts. Are you sure? Yunxing immediately felt that something was amiss. The Zhou state border was the border of 3 countries. However, due to the commoners gathering there, it was almost impossible to discover demonic beasts. Needless to say, demonic beasts would form groups and enter the commoners' village. The zone master narrowed his eyes. The zone master said. There were no traces of demonic beasts outside the village. However, there were some footprints of demonic beasts inside the village. He and Yunxing looked at each other. Both of them looked at the Bat King perched at the side at the same time. Anyone with experience in rearing flying demonic beasts would know that those were traces left by flying demonic beasts. In other words, the group of bandits who had wreaked havoc in the village and left no traces behind were most likely riding on flying demonic beasts. Yunxing and the zone master returned to the town together. Yunxing and the zone master returned to the town. Yun Songlong had already returned to the town. The moment Yunxing entered the door, she saw the youth named Lu Zi kneeling in front of Yun Songlong, refusing to get up. Lu Zi woke up in the evening, just as Yunxing had expected. However, after he woke up, he did not say a word. No matter how Zhou Quan and the rest asked, he did not speak. Until Yun Songlong returned. Lu Zi did not say a word when he saw Yun Songlong. He climbed down from the bed and kowtowed to him a few times. Lu Zi. Get up first. Why are you kneeling to me for no reason? You must know that a man should not kneel to the heavens, the earth, and his parents. Yun Songlong hurriedly helped him up. Lu Zi's face was full of sincerity. No, sir, please accept Lu Zi's kowtow. I beg you, take me as your disciple. I beg you, regardless of whether you can save my parents or not, you can't spread this matter. Lu Zi believed that these people in front of him were trustworthy people. After receiving everyone's encouraging gazes, he slowly unbuttoned his shirt and took out a piece of animal skin that was as thin as a piece of paper near his chest. On the animal skin, there was a map drawn with special beast blood. Lu Zi told everyone that this map was a map of a purple gold mine that was discovered in Zhou State, later Qin, and Tangyuan a few years ago. This map is real. Where did you get it? There were too many versions of the map of the purple gold mine, and no one dared to believe that the map in front of them was authentic. Lu Zi was too young, and this made everyone doubt the authenticity of the map. It was left behind by my father. I'm not happy that everyone said that my father was one of the people who discovered the purple gold mine in his early years. At that time, it was him and several hunters from other villages who discovered the purple gold mine. There were a total of 8 of them. At that time, they followed a level 4 magical beast and broke into the area. A few years ago, Lu Zi was only 5 or 6 years old. What he knew was what his mother told him later. Lu Zi's father was a famous marksman in Jinko village. When they were hunting magical beasts, they saw a few beautiful stones. At that time, no one knew that it was the priceless purple gold mine. Lu Zi's father casually brought a few pieces home for Lu Zi to play with. Later, when Lu Zi was playing, he was accidentally seen by the village chief and found out that it was the precious purple gold mine. After the discovery of the mine, he immediately reported it to Jade Capital, but at the same time, the news was leaked. Later Qin, Tangyuan, and even the military of Zhou State sent people to ask about it. Not long after, the war that shook the three countries happened. After the three countries signed the armistice agreement, they were summoned by the military and led a group of soldiers into the mountains. However, in the mountains, a group of soldiers from another country suddenly appeared. The two sides fought, and unexpectedly, the whole group was wiped out. Even the hunters who knew about it were killed. Lu Zi's father was also seriously injured, but he was lucky. After he was injured, he faked his death and escaped the massacre. He hid in the mountains for 2 or 3 days before escaping back to his original village. After that incident, Lu Zi's father brought Lu Zi's mother and Lu Zi out of Yunban's village and lived in seclusion in Jinko village. They lived there for 7 to 8 years. They thought that the matter of the purple gold mine would be buried forever with the tragic deaths of the hunters. Who knew that a few years later, robbers would rob the village? Liuzi, what you mean is that you suspect that those people captured the nearby villagers because of the purple gold mine? Then why did they capture the whole village, and a few villages at that? Not only did Yunxing not understand, but Yun Songlang also did not believe it. Because they needed manpower to dig the mine, and they couldn't use the military or openly recruit people in town. In the name of robbers, they captured all the villagers. This was the safest and most reliable way. Lu Zi had been hiding with his parents since he was young, so he was more sensitive than others of his age. After he crawled out of the cellar, the first thing he did was to find the map that his father had hidden in the house. He climbed mountains and waded through rivers, and found the location of the purple gold mine. He secretly hid in the area for a while, and indeed, he found a large number of mysterious people moving around the purple gold mine. He also found some familiar faces among the miners who were digging. Lu Zi's whereabouts were discovered by the people patrolling the mine one day. He hurriedly escaped, but in the process of escaping, he was shot in the back by the enemy, and there were many bite marks on his body from the magical beasts of the enemy. Those mysterious people were very powerful. They were heavily guarded around the mine, and there were a large number of land magical beasts and flying magical beasts patrolling the area. If they were not careful, they would be discovered by the other party. Lu Zi's eyes were not sharp, and he did not know the strength of the other party, but he was sure that there were no less than 1,000 of them. Hearing Lu Zi's words, Yunxing and the rest could also confirm the authenticity of the map. After Yun Songlang heard this, he pondered for a moment. This matter was much more difficult than he thought. Before they set off, the hunting corps' mission was only to find the location of the purple gold mine. What do you all think about this matter? After Yun Songlang comforted Lu Zi, he found a few corps members of the Sky Expedition Hunting Corps and everyone started to discuss. Chapter 3:17. Although he was the leader, he had just become a hunter not long ago. He still needed to seek advice from others, especially from an experienced person like the Zone personality. They were here under the orders of the Emperor of Zhou State. Although it was a mission, it was actually an order. If they could not complete it, they would be implicated. From the perspective of a mission, they had already completed their mission. The map of the purple gold mine had been found, and it was done without losing a single soldier. It could be considered perfect. As long as they brought the map back to the Jade capital, they would be able to report back. However, if they handed it over, the consequences would be unimaginable. The Emperor of Zhou State, Yi Qingtian, would definitely order the army to snatch the purple gold mine. In that case, whether or not they could snatch the mine back was another matter. That group of mysterious bandits would definitely kill the villagers they captured in order to silence them. Yun Songlang and the rest did not want to see such an outcome. Moreover, even if they brought the news back to the Jade capital, it would take almost a month for them to come and go. By then, the mine would have been emptied. This old man thinks that we should just kill our way to that mine. Whatever magical beasts or bandits, there'll be nothing in front of this old man, the Zone personality said boldly. He was a holy beast summoner, so he really didn't care about ordinary enemies. How about this, Zone personality, let your Bat Son and Bat Son go to the mine area to check out the situation. After confirming the number of people on the other side, we can make a decision. Yunxing also felt that they should not hand over the map for the time being. The pressure of the dragon-clawed Bat King was too frightening. In order to avoid alerting the group of mysterious people, Yunxing asked the Zone personality to keep the dragon-clawed Bat King in the magical beast space. The Zone personality could control some low-level bats through the Bat King. Taking advantage of the night, he released a few bats. On the morning of the second day, the bats brought back some news. After communicating with the bat for a while, the Zone personality's expression became serious. Master, things are not looking good. The Zone personality scratched his head. He originally thought that as long as he had his own magical beasts, he would not have to fear the mysterious people. However, the bats discovered that there were many lightning explosion magic arrays in the mine area. The lightning explosion magic array was no ordinary magic array. It was drawn using the lightning magic element with astonishing power. This kind of magic array was mostly used for mining in mountainous areas, and its power was enough to split mountains and split the earth. It was also used in some large-scale battles. As long as it was properly arranged and the opponent did not have any magicians present, it could be used to launch a sneak attack on the enemy on the battlefield. Furthermore, the mining area worked day and night. From the mining area, corpses were transported out one after another. There were both men and women, and there were even many corpses of children who were a few years old. Even Yun Songlong, who was used to seeing life and death on the battlefield, couldn't help but become angry after hearing the Zone personality's words. These mysterious people were too inhumane. Not only that, according to Bat's reaction, there were sorcerers, warriors, and a few summoners among the group of mysterious people. Such a well-disciplined force with a clear division of labor had obviously been carefully planned. I can only gather this much information. The bats also don't dare to enter the mining area. If they activate the lightning explosion magic array, even my Dragon Claw Bat King would be blown to pieces. The Zone personality couldn't help but rejoice. He had listened to Yunxing's suggestion yesterday and didn't rashly send his Dragon Claw Bat King into the mining area. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Hearing Master Zong's words, not to mention us, even if the army personally went, I'm afraid it would be difficult to break in. If the other party is forced into a corner, I'm afraid they would activate the lightning explosion magic array. The villagers inside would most likely die. Yun Songlong muttered. Why don't we sneak in? Since it's difficult to break in from the outside, why don't we think of a way from the inside? Yunxing suddenly suggested. Break in from the inside. No, that's too dangerous. Moreover, our group is too obvious a target. The people from the sky hunting group were all soldiers. Although they were now hunters, their temperament and actions were clear. It was impossible for the other party to not notice. We don't need too many people, just a few will do. Me, Huang Ke, and Lu Zi are still young. Our Do Qi and magic fluctuations aren't obvious, so we're the best candidates. Lu Zi has also been to the mine before, so he has a better understanding of the situation. Yunxing was very curious about the lightning explosion magic array in the mine. Yunxing had already asked Lu Zi about the details. The plundering of the villagers had happened in the past half a month. According to the map of the mine, the purple gold mine spanned about 1 li and was several meters deep. The other party definitely wanted to plunder enough people and finish excavating the mine before Zhou State or other countries discovered it. From the casualties in the mine, there were people dying every day. Those mysterious people were bound to plunder the villagers again. The villages near southern Cliff Town, especially the two villages close to Jinko Village, were the most likely targets. It's too dangerous. The other party has more than 1,000 people, and there's no lack of powerful magicians and warriors among them. Yun Songlong was very unwilling to let Yun Xing become a suspect. He would rather sneak in himself. However, Yun Xing's words weren't without reason. There really weren't any more suitable candidates around. His elder brother's life was uncertain, so he had the obligation to take good care of Xing. Second uncle, if we don't act quickly, the 1,000 or so villagers who have been robbed will definitely die. Moreover, I'm a famous doctor. If I sneak in, I can minimize the casualties to the greatest extent. Even if we can't save the villagers, we can buy some time for you to come up with a more reliable solution. Yun Xing also didn't take a step back. Yun Songlong's heart was heavy at the thought of more than 1,000 villagers dying. Not good, General. Just as Yun Songlong was hesitating, Zhou Quan walked in. Last night, another village's villagers disappeared. There were more than 200 people in the village, and not a single one was left. Second uncle, we can't let the tragedy of the Yun army happen again. Yun Xing's words were like a sharp arrow that pierced Yun Songlong's heart. He finally made up his mind. Xing, but you have to promise second uncle that you can't blindly stick your head out. You have to inform second uncle about everything first. Knowing that Yun Xing and the rest were willing to infiltrate the mine, Lu Zi was both happy and worried. However, in the end, he couldn't overcome his worry for his parents and the villagers. That night, he, Yun Xing, and Huang Ke arrived at a village called Zhou Village near Jinko Village. The hunters of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps were lying in ambush near Zhou Village, carefully monitoring it. In order to keep it a secret, Yun Xing only told the news to the village chief of Zhou Village. The old village chief was still skeptical at first, but when he heard that the hunting corps that Yun Xing belonged to was the Yun army, the old village chief immediately dispelled his suspicions. Although Yun Songlong was defeated that year, he fought to the last moment in order to protect the villagers at the border. The kindness of the Yun army and the general's estate was deeply engraved in the hearts of the people at the border. The three of them changed into the village's youth's attire. In order to make things easier, Yun Xing was still dressed as a youth, and Ke also changed into men's attire. The three of them waited patiently in the village. Thank you Beiyu and Ni Shang for your tips. Regarding updates, I'm not like some writers who work full-time. I work 6 days a week and only write at night. With the godly doctor's pitiful data, I'm not going to work full-time. Normally, I'll write a steady update to recommend explosive updates. Chapter 318. Even after 5 days, Zhou Village was still peaceful. Just as Yun Xing was about to lose her patience, that night, Yun Xing and Huang Ke turned off the lights and rested as usual, while Yun Xing sat on the Kong bed to meditate. Just after midnight, a bright light flashed in the sky above the village. Yun Xing opened her eyes and immediately woke Huang Ke and Lu Zi up. In the village, there were cries and barks. Catch everyone inside. Amidst a furious roar, the door of the house where the three of them were in was broken open. Yun Xing, Huang Ke, and Lu Zi pretended to be trembling in fear. They hid in the house, not daring to move. Several wind hounds that were almost a meter tall rushed in. Wind hounds were a hybrid magical beast, a mix of wind wolves and wolfhounds. They were the size of calves and had a pair of black wings on their backs. It was obvious that these wind hounds had undergone special training. They were all wearing collars with sharp barbs around their necks. A few mysterious people wearing half masks rushed in. One of them glanced into the house. In the simple house, there were only 3 terrified youths. 3 kids who are so thin that they can't even fill the gaps between my teeth. What kind of lousy village is this? There aren't many people here. Zhou Village was considered a medium-sized village nearby, with more than 500 permanent residents. However, ever since the disappearance of the entire village, the villagers who had a little bit of money in the village had all moved to the town. There were only about 200 villagers left in Zhou Village. Most of them were old, weak, sick and disabled people who could not leave Zhou Village due to their poor families or their weak bodies. These mysterious people who went out to kidnap people were also rewarded based on their contributions. The stronger the villagers were, the longer they could mine. The villagers of Zhou Village were all weak and sickly. If they were brought back, not only would they not be rewarded, they might even be punished by the officers. Yunxing pretended to be sobbing, but she was secretly sizing up the mysterious bandits. They were very tall, all of them at least 1.75 meters, and judging from their walking pace and muscles, it was obvious that they had undergone professional training. These people were either soldiers or hunters. But one thing was for sure, these people were not from the great Zhou dynasty. Don't talk so much nonsense. If they're human, then take them back. If they can't hold on and die, then throw them all outside to feed the Fengao dogs. We don't have much food left. One of them looked like the leader of the unknowns. He glared at his talkative subordinate and made a gesture. Several mysterious people on the side grabbed Yunxing and the other 2, who couldn't even speak, and carried them out of the house. After catching the man, they set the house on fire. In the village, thick black smoke billowed everywhere. The villagers were all gathered at the entrance of the village. No one was allowed to open their mouths or beg for mercy. Among them were a few women and children carrying babies. In order to prevent the news from leaking out, no one was left alive in the village. The animals in the village were all treated as rations and chased to one place. Wawa, a frightened child, began to cry. The woman holding her was so scared that she hurriedly coaxed her, but the child refused to stop crying. The leader of the unknowns glanced over with cold eyes, and a Fengao dog with saliva dripping from its mouth pounced over. Let go of my child. Seeing the Fengao dog pouncing on her baby, the woman struggled crazily. She was just an ordinary woman. How could she be a match for a rank 5 windhound? After a terrible swallowing sound, the baby's crying stopped. Yunxing saw this and clenched her hands tightly, her nails piercing into her palms. She couldn't make a move. The anger in her heart was like a stormy sea, making it difficult for Yunxing to calm down. If she made a move at this time, their plan would be ruined. More than 1,000 lives and the purple gold mine. Yunxing took a few deep breaths, and her hand firmly grasped the Oriole's hand. Tonight, this cruel scene was deeply engraved in their minds. 2 adults to a ride, 3 children to a ride, take away all the animals. The leader was indifferent to the death of the baby. After he confirmed that there were no more living people in the village, he commanded his subordinates to chase everyone onto the Fengao dog. In just half an hour, Zhou Village turned into a sea of fire. Yunsheng, Oriole and Luzi sat on the back of a Fengao dog. The Fengao dog quickly rose into the air, and soon Zhou Village was left behind. It was the first time Oriole and Luzi came into contact with flying magical beasts, and they were so scared that they looked nervous. Those mysterious people, after leaving the ground, also let down their guard. In their eyes, these captured villagers were all ordinary people, and when they were in the air, they weren't afraid that they would cause trouble. Don't be afraid, these are trained magical beasts, just treat it as riding horses. Seeing that the mysterious people had let down their guard, Yunxing quietly placed her palm on the head of the Fengao dog under her. A subtle magic power went deep into the head of the Fengao dog, and a trace of fear flashed in the eyes of the Fengao dog, which was then replaced by confusion, and after a while, the confusion turned into docility. The Fengao dog's flying ability was more powerful than that of an ordinary eagle, and with its huge body, it was most suitable for transporting people and animals. Yunxing observed the Southern Cross in the south of the sky, and silently calculated the flight time. After flying for about 2 hours, the night gradually dispersed, and when the red clouds of dawn appeared, the mysterious people and the Fengao dogs landed on an inconspicuous mountain ridge with their prey. This mountain ridge was no different from the mountain ridge that Yunxing and the rest had passed by when they came. However, if one took a closer look, they would discover that this seemingly lush forest, which was full of life, revealed traces of murderous intent. Between the leaves and the rocks, there was a large number of arrows with amazing attack power, as well as some rocket arrays that emitted fire magical elements. As long as there was an intruder, the ambush of arrows and the rocket arrays would be activated in an instant, and the intruder would be shot into a hornet's nest. There were dense tropical trees and flowers all around, and the Fengao dogs under them landed steadily on the ground. Those mysterious people immediately took out some magical beast meat and fed it to the Fengao dogs. After Yunxing and the other two got off the Fengao dogs, they found that they were already in the mining area. Yunxing also finally saw the thunder explosion magic array that was reported by the Bat of the Zone personality earlier. It was a magic array that was branded with a purplish-red mark. The magic array was closed during the day, but when it was night time, the magic array would be activated. As long as someone accidentally stepped on the magic array, they would be blasted into ashes by the thunder attribute magic that would spurt out. Its power was not inferior to that of modern landmines and bombs. Chapter 319. The mining area was surrounded by iron fences. Mysterious masked men were either holding magic scepters or armed with weapons, shouting and cursing. Under the morning light, groups of bare-chested strong men walked past Yunxing and the others. They were bound with iron chains and carried dozens of kilograms of purple gold ore on their backs. The iron chains and heavy ore crushed their backs into a bloody mess. However, none of them dared to stop and just walked back and forth like machines. Divide the villagers into 2 groups according to their gender. Bring the old, the young, and those who are unable to work to the livestock shed. Bring the rest to the cave. The mysterious men who brought Yunxing and the others back spoke. They separated the villagers who were captured. Those who were able to work were locked up in the cave and given a certain amount of water and food. They were used to replace the miners who were working hard at any time. The rest of the villagers who were unable to work were directly driven to the livestock shed and locked up together with the livestock they had captured. They would be used as food for the magical beasts in the future. During the time when they were locked up in groups, Yunxing witnessed several carts of corpses being pushed out on carts. There were both men and women among them, and the youngest among them was only 8 or 9 years old. Some of them had their hands smashed by the ore, and some were beaten to death because they resisted or tried to escape. This mine looked lush and leafy from the outside, but in fact, it was a purgatory on earth. When Lu Zi saw this scene, he bit his lips tightly. He did not know if his parents were still alive. No matter if they were locked up in the cave or sent to the livestock shed, they could not escape death in the end. Yunxing believed that even if there were villagers who were lucky enough to survive in such a harsh environment, once the mine was dug out, these mysterious men would definitely kill all the villagers who survived in order to hide their evil deeds. Damn it, these people were simply devoid of humanity. Seeing the tragic scene, the dark Dharma soul in Yunxing's body seemed to have smelled the scent of blood and became active. For the first time, Yunxing's heart surged with such a strong murderous intent. She wanted to kill these beasts in front of her. When she realized this, Yunxing couldn't help but be shocked. She had always had excellent self-control, but she discovered that as she delved deeper into dark magic, her murderous heart seemed to have become much heavier. A red light appeared in her eyes. Although Yunsheng and the other two were not very old and were not very tall, their bodies were still very sturdy. Thus, they were quickly selected and rushed to the group of people in the cave. "The three of you, what are you looking around for?" The mysterious people who drove them in waved a whip full of thorns in their hands and slammed it hard on the ground. The hard ground was immediately smashed into pieces. The stone debris flew up and hit the people's bodies, causing burning pain. Their whips were pointed at the wall of the cave. Everyone looked up. Some of the more timid ones were scared to tears on the spot. On the wall, there were several dead bodies hanging. There was a trace of intact bone in these people's bodies. Their faces were beyond recognition. The men were stripped naked, and the women were also bare-chested. The blood on their bodies had dried, leaving only wrinkled skin. They were barely recognizable as human figures. These people were all people who had tried to escape in the past when the guards weren't paying attention and when they were mining. None of them succeeded. After they were captured alive, they ended up like this. Even so, there were still many people who tried to escape every day. After a few warnings, the mysterious people left the cave. Lu Zi resisted the waves of nausea in his throat. He hurriedly looked for his parents in the crowd. Although the chances were small, Lu Zi still hoped that he could find his parents. Most of the villagers who were imprisoned in the cave were thin and sallow, and their lips were dry and cracked. Their eyes were empty. When they saw the newcomers, they did not make any sound. For them, escaping had become an extravagant hope. Their loved ones died one by one, completely destroying their hope. They were probably just walking corpses. Lu Zi looked around the crowd and found a few people from Jinko village. However, no matter how he asked, they did not speak. He was worried that his parents had met with misfortune. "Lu Zi, don't ask anymore." Yunsheng saw that Lu Zi was on the verge of breaking down. She dragged him aside and gave him a few mouthfuls of water. Only then did Lu Zi calm down. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps outside. Yunsheng and the others looked up. 30 to 40 bare-chested and barefoot miners walked in. They all looked tired. These people were the miners who had finished their mining task today. After they returned to the cave, another group of people was driven out. "Father." Lu Zi recognized one of the men. He immediately jumped up and rushed over. Chapter 320. When he heard the familiar voice, a middle-aged man who looked very strong among the dozens of miners raised his head and looked at Yunsheng and the others blankly. When he saw Lu Zi's face, the man's eyes suddenly widened. That man was Lu Zi's father, who was forcibly taken to the cave more than 10 days ago. The father and son did not expect to meet again in such an environment. The two of them hugged each other excitedly. "Lu Zi, it's really you. Why are you here? Why are you so disobedient? Didn't I tell you to stay far away? What are you doing here?" Lu Zi's father saw his son and was both sad and happy. He was happy that his son was safe and sound. During this period of time, he had seen countless people from the neighboring villages being captured and brought here. He was also worried about Lu Zi's safety outside. But when they finally had news of their son, he had barged into the tiger's den. Everyone knew that there was no chance of survival after entering this hellish cave. Yunsheng noticed that Lu Zi's father was the most energetic among these miners. It seemed that he only looked a little tired, and his spirit was very good. This was probably because he had experienced life and death in his early years, so his willpower was much stronger than that of ordinary people. "Father, let's not talk about this first. Where's mother?" Lu Zi did not see his mother's figure and was terrified. Don't worry, your mother is fine. A few days after we were locked in here, those villains picked a few nimble women in the cave and said that they would cook for them and wash their clothes. Lu Zi's mother was lucky to be chosen and escaped the disaster. After hearing Lu Zi's story, Lu Zi's father calmed down. Especially when he heard that Yunsheng and the others were the descendants of the Yun army, his originally dim eyes were filled with a desire to live. They are the descendants of the Yun army. Really, Lu Zi's father said with a friendly look. He stayed in the cave for more than 10 days. Because he was strong and did not escape, the group of mysterious people treated him well. They made him the person who distributed food and water in the cave. Although Lu Zi's father appeared to be yielding, he had never given up observing the activities of these mysterious people. This cave held all the villagers who had been abducted. A large number of people had already entered and exited the cave. At its peak, there were 500 to 600 people. There was only one entrance to the cave. Since there were people guarding the other side of the cave day and night, the mysterious people would guard the cave in batches. There were also ferocious fire lizards patrolling the area. There were some villagers who tried to escape, but they were all caught without exception. Most of the villagers who were caught would be beaten to death. Lu Zi's father had thought of running away earlier, but when he remembered that Lu Zi's mother was still in the hands of those people, he gritted his teeth and persevered. At the same time, Lu Zi's father also mentioned some matters regarding the purple gold mining area. It was unknown where these mysterious people had gotten the map of the mine. They had captured the villagers to mine the mine. Within this purple gold mining area, there was a large amount of purple gold ore. Every day, about 500 kilograms of purple gold ore would be transported out by flying magical beasts. However, Lu Zi's father didn't know where it would be shipped to. "Father, who are those people?" Lu Zi asked. "I don't know, but their leader seems to live in a treehouse not far away. Judging from his accent, he doesn't seem to be from Zhou State." Lu Zi's father shook his head. He went out to mine every day to get some fresh air, and this was all he could find out. With Lu Zi's father's detailed description, Yunxing roughly outlined the situation of the entire mining area in her mind. The periphery of the mining area was a dense tropical forest area. The mining area was divided into 4 areas: east, west, north, and south. The main mining area of the purple gold vein was in the east, the villagers who were imprisoned in the cave were in the west, and the other soldiers and livestock were in the south. As for the leader of the mysterious people and some powerful magicians, warriors, and summoners, they all lived in the north. In the middle of these 4 areas, there were more than a dozen thunder explosion arrays. Without personally exploring the environment, it was impractical to escape. Yunxing decided to stay in the mining area for a few days. It would be best if there was a chance to go to the location of the purple gold vein, and then think of a way to escape with the villagers. While they were talking, Yunxing heard a painful groan. A middle-aged miner who came back with Lu Zi's father earlier fell to the ground. His face was full of sweat, and his stomach was throbbing with pain. "What's the matter?" Yunxing immediately went forward to check. "It's an old problem. The environment here is too bad. Everyone often has stomach pains and diarrhea. It's fine for us who are stronger, but the young and the women can't stand it." Lu Zi's father sighed. While Yunxing listened to Lu Zi's father describe the situation in the mining area, she also paid attention to other things in the cave. Just as she found when she entered the cave earlier, the environment here was very bad. Those mysterious people did not treat these villagers as humans at all. Yunxing checked the drinking water and food of hundreds of villagers every day. The water was turbid yellow muddy water that had not been purified and precipitated at all. There was also a severe shortage of food, and most of it was rancid food. Chapter 321. Everyone, listen carefully. From now on, all of us have to be of one mind. If you are willing to cooperate, I can guarantee that you will be brought out alive to reunite with your families. But if you dare to be disloyal and disobey my orders, I can guarantee that you will die an even uglier death than these corpses. Yunsheng was not very old, but at this moment, her body was emitting a terrifying aura that intimidated people. To the ignorant and useless villagers, a leader with absolute authority was very important. Yunsheng's actions made every villager present feel fear from the depths of their souls. But along with this fear came a desire to survive. Yunsheng's magic and her every word was like a shower of rain, gradually giving hope to these spiritually exhausted villagers. No one dared to make a sound. They followed Lu Zi's father's instructions and lined up, supporting their families, wives, and friends to receive medicinal herbs and food. In just one night, the order in the cave had undergone a subtle change. And this change was completely unknown to the mysterious people outside the cave. The sun rose and set not long after Yunsheng and the others were taken to the mining area. Commander, the people from Zhou village have not been taken away. The people we sent to spy on them followed orders and did not alert the enemy. The other party is a group of masked people and we can't tell where they came from. They have a large number of flying magical beasts and they are flying towards the south of southern Cliff Town, near Tangyuan. The night Yunsheng and the others were taken away, the hunters of the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps who were lying in ambush near Zhou village immediately sent the news back to the inn in southern Cliff Town. Yun Songlong and the others had been anxiously waiting there for a few days. My bats have also followed those magical beasts to the mining area. With Master's intelligence, there shouldn't be any big problems. But Yun Brat, what should we do? For safety reasons, Yunsheng ordered the clan members not to follow them. He was several generations older than Yun Songlong and called him Yun Brat. Yun Songlong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I plan to go to Marquis Jiyuan's garrison to take a look. After all, we don't have enough manpower. If we can get the military's help, I believe the chances of rescuing the villagers will be much higher. Yun Songlong was still placing his hopes on the local garrison. He immediately headed to the Marquis of Jiyuan's encampment, but he didn't expect that the other party would give him the cold shoulder. I want to see your general. I am Yun Songlong. I was your general's aide in the early years. Yun Songlong reiterated his identity. The two monkey-like guards glanced at Yun Songlong. One of them rolled his eyes and spat out a mouthful of phlegm. Yun Songlong. Reckless brat, you want to pretend to be the #1 general of Zhou State, the young general of the residents of Yun? Take a piss and look at yourself. If you are Yun Songlong, then I am Zhou State's martial saint, Yun Ba. Yun Songlong's blood immediately rushed to his head. If it weren't for the fact that he had already left the army, he definitely would have dealt with this guard according to military law. He forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart. Brother, whether you believe me or not, I really do have something to report to your general. It's about the missing villagers from the nearby villages. When the two guards heard this, their eyes were filled with bewilderment. One of them said, "Wait here for a moment. I will go inside and report to the general." The guard hurriedly entered the garrison's encampment. "General, there is someone outside requesting an audience. This person says he is Yun Songlong. He says he has clues about the missing villagers from the nearby villages." Yun Songlong. What a joke. Yun Songlong is but a cripple. Why would he come to our southern cliff town? He must be a swindler or a spy from an enemy country who wants to infiltrate our army. Men, listen to my orders. Beat that bandit out with military canes. Inside the luxuriously decorated main general's tent, Marquis Jiyuan's nephew, Irony, waved his hand disdainfully. That guard hurriedly lowered his head and accepted the order. General Ni, you just sent Yun Songlong out like this. Aren't you afraid that he will barge in? Inside the main general's tent sat a man and woman. The man and woman were dressed exquisitely and had imposing appearances. Upon closer inspection, these two were the siblings of Grand Emperor City, Xian Wuji and Xian Mimi. I've let the two of you see a joke. Who does Yun Songlong think he is? He is but a martial artist who has been stripped of his official position. If he dares to block our path to wealth, I will definitely make him regret ever stepping foot on the land of the border. Rennie's eyes flashed with a greedy light as he spoke. In front of him, there were two large pieces of resplendent purple ore that looked like crystals. Each of the ores weighed 50 caddies. If they were forged into limitless purple gold coins, the value would most likely not be less than 100,000. Rennie was but a fourth-ranked general. Even with his uncle, the Marquis of Jiyuan, looking after him, the annual military pay that was docked did not exceed 10,000 gold coins. How could it compare to the rewards that Grand Emperor City and that mysterious group of people gave him? Rennie was naturally happy to be able to exchange a few poor villagers for such a large sum of wealth. Don't worry, the two of you. I will definitely think of a way to cover up the disappearance of the villagers. However, you need to act quickly. Chapter 322. You guys are so skinny. Can you do it? Today's task is not easy. The mysterious men glanced at Yunsheng and the others. Seeing that they were just teenagers, they could not help but frown. Masters, these children are not young anymore. Their families do farm work, so they are quite strong. But for the brothers who are sick, even if they go to the mining area, they will only delay the progress. It will not be good if they cause you to be scolded. Lu Zi's father had already figured out the temperament of these mysterious men, so he stepped forward to help them. Are they from the same village as you? Well, later you will keep an eye on them. Don't think of doing anything wrong. Otherwise, cut off their legs. The mysterious men did not recognize Yunsheng and the others, but they were somewhat familiar with Lu Zi's father. Hearing what he said, they reluctantly agreed with Lu Zi's father. But when they saw that Yunsheng and the other two were so skinny, they left the shortest Oriole behind. Then they picked up 20 people, including Lu Zi's father, and took them out together. As soon as they left the cave, they were shackled and chained. In this way, it was much more difficult to escape. Since Yunsheng was brought back to the mining area, it was the first time that she left the cave. As soon as she got out of the cave, the dazzling sunlight made her squint her eyes. Don't look around. Go east. Remember, your task today is to dig up 50 kilograms of purple gold ore. If the amount is not enough, each of you will be whipped 10 times. The mysterious men who supervised them wore masks. Their eyes exposed outside the masks were fierce. They waved the whips in their hands and warned everyone. All the way to the east of the mining area, Yunsheng saw a tunnel. The entrance of the tunnel was very high, more than 10 meters high. It went deep into the ground. This must be the entrance of the mining area. The earlier group of miners was coming out of the entrance. Two mysterious men were responsible for searching their bodies. What is this? With a fierce shout, a shivering miner was grabbed by the neck by a mysterious man like a chicken. From the miner's pants, a purple ore as thick as a finger rolled out. Yunsheng looked carefully. The ore looked very similar to purple crystal, but it was completely different from purple crystal. This purple ore was mixed with gold. Under the sunlight, the purple and gold colors were very beautiful. That was the most precious ore on the boundless continent, the purple gold Oregon. The most expensive purple gold coin in circulation in the boundless world was the purple gold card, which was made from precious purple gold ore. The purple gold ore's uses were not limited to that. Legend had it that a brilliant blacksmith could refine the purple gold ore into top-grade defensive equipment. However, the amount of purple gold ore in the entire continent was very limited. Therefore, as long as there was a clue to the Empire's purple gold ore, all the major countries would frantically send people to search for it. The capital of Zhou State was no exception. A piece of purple gold ore the thickness of a finger was equivalent to 5 purple gold coins, which was equivalent to 50 gold coins. To most of the villagers who worked in the mining area, this was a huge fortune that they would never be able to obtain in their lifetime. It was also to prevent the villagers from hiding anything, so no matter if they entered or left the cave, all the villagers would be searched. Yunxing had also expected this, so she had already hidden her storage ring in a secret place in the cave. That villager who was caught was also greedy, which was why he hid the ore. After he was discovered, he was so scared that he trembled and kept begging for mercy. "Sir, I won't dare to do it again. I was just muddle-headed for a moment." Muddle-headed? Ha, what a muddle-headed person. A cold light flashed in the hands of the mysterious person who found the ore, and he chopped off one of the villager's fingers. That villager was rolling on the ground in pain. When the other villagers saw this, they were so scared that their faces turned pale. No one dared to go forward to help him. "If it wasn't for the lack of manpower in the mining area, I would have cut off your head and fed it to the magical beasts." Kicking that villager away, the mysterious person waved his hand and motioned for Yunxing and the rest to enter. Yunxing calmly walked over. When Yunxing walked in with shackles on her legs, one of the mysterious people's eyes flashed under the mask and showed some surprise. Why was she here? After Yunxing and the rest entered the cave, the leader of the mysterious people ordered the rest of the mysterious people to patrol the area and pay attention to the situation. "Bai Ming, I'm not seeing things, right? Wasn't that the little miracle doctor just now?" A tall mysterious person whispered in another person's ear. Although Yunxing was dressed as a man, she was still recognized at a glance. She was fine in Southern Cliff Town. What did she come here for? She's really messing around. The man's voice was low and there was some dissatisfaction in his eyes. This little wild cat was really worrisome. She didn't know what method Yi Baiming used, but his gray eyes now looked dark brown. Qing Bai's skin was also dyed a beeswax color. They were wearing masks and their appearance was similar to the other mysterious people in the mining area. If she didn't look carefully, Yunxing wouldn't be able to tell. In a place like the mining area, there were all kinds of people. She actually dared to come here alone. Where did Yun Songlong go? And that Zhong Yi. Then what should we do? Are we still going to continue with our plan? The tall and straight mysterious men were Yi Baiming and Qing Bai in disguise. A few days ago, Yi Baiming, Qing Bai, and Bu Jiuxiao had all mixed into this group of mysterious people. This mining area was also the purpose of their trip. Act according to the plan. I know what to do about the little wild cat. Jiuxiao has already found out the origins of these mysterious people. They are most likely related to Tang Yuan. This time, we'll catch a turtle in a jar. Yi Baiming's eyes turned cold. He was determined to get this batch of purple gold ore. How could he allow other countries to get a share of it? Yunxing didn't know that she and Yi Baiming had boarded a pirate ship. She dragged the heavy shackles and entered the mine. As soon as she entered the mine, she was attracted by the scenery in front of her. Purple gold was indeed worthy of the title of the most beautiful ore on the continent. Whether it was day or night, the mine flickered with a beautiful light like the tail light of a firefly. Purple and gold mixed together to illuminate people's eyes, like a two-colored rainbow. It had to be said that this was an excellent mining area. In the whole mining area, about 4/5 of the area was purple gold ore, and the remaining 1/5 was rough basalt. This was a pure natural mining area. A large amount of purple gold ore was exposed to the ground. The hexagonal crystals of different sizes were of different sizes. Some were only the size of a coin, while others were like pillars that supported the sky, rising from the ground. They grew from the stones on the ground, like towering trees full of vitality. They rose from the sky and reached the top of the cave dozens of meters away. These precious ores also emitted a kind of gauze-like purple mist that lingered above the mine, making the whole mine more beautiful. Every villager who had just entered the mine would be attracted by this strange scene. Don't be dumbfounded. This wealth doesn't belong to us. We can't have evil thoughts. Yunsheng and Lu Zi's dumbfounded expressions made Lu Zi's father shake his head. Most of the villagers who had just entered the mine would show such expressions. But after a day, if they couldn't dig up enough ores, what awaited them was the most cruel whipping. After being reminded by Lu Zi's father, Yunsheng put away her curiosity. Chapter 323. She looked at the mine again. Due to the limited space, dozens of miners were scattered in every corner of the mine. Each of them was given a shovel, a bundle of ropes, and a few bamboo baskets. Although the purple gold ore was beautiful, it was also one of the most difficult ores to collect on the mainland. Unlike ordinary ores, before the purple gold ore was mined, it could not be bombarded with magic, nor could it be excavated by brute force. Otherwise, the whole cave would collapse. It could only be collected by physical means, which was the common sense of manual work. Therefore, even though this group of mysterious people had many mages and warriors, they still chose to capture villagers to collect. Yunsheng and Lu Zi listened and began to collect the purple gold ore. These stones are really hard. Lu Zi waved the shovel. He used a lot of strength to dig out a little bit of the purple gold ore. Although Lu Zi was older than Yunsheng, he had never really learned martial arts. On the other hand, Yunsheng had trained in Wuxuan Wuji school for a while and her strength had improved. However, she soon found that it was very difficult to excavate the purple gold ore with brute force. An hour later, Yunsheng had only excavated about 5 caddies of purple gold ore. Lu Zi was even worse, only about 2 caddies. At this rate, it was unlikely that the two of them would be able to collect 50 caddies of purple gold ore before nightfall. Looking at the other villagers, Lu Zi's father was the one who had excavated the most, about 20 caddies. The other villagers also had about 10 caddies. Due to the large amount of mining some time ago, the ores in sight were almost all collected by the villagers. As for the few pieces of ores that were like pillars supporting the sky, Yunsheng and Lu Zi could not move them at all. Lu Zi, let's go to the north and take a look. Yunsheng pointed to a corner in front of them. The purple gold ore mine was temporarily excavated and extended in all directions. The place where Yunsheng and the others were staying now had the densest distribution of ores, but most of them were almost completely excavated. Don't go too far. If there are not enough ores later, I will share some with you. Lu Zi's father reminded them and buried himself in mining again. Yunsheng and Lu Zi walked to the other end of the mine, which was much more concealed than before. After turning a few corners, Yunsheng soon saw a diamond-shaped purple gold ore area. Liu Zi, keep an eye on the surroundings. Yunsheng had Liu Zi keep watch while she stealthily summoned a phantom beast from the Ling Long Beast Tower. Vice Commander, what is this? Seeing this unassuming and ugly beast, Lu Zi was a little surprised. He glanced at Yunsheng and wondered where she had conjured this magic beast from. It's a type of magical beast. Our speed of collecting purple gold ore is not as fast as the other villagers, and we can't use magic. I want to try using this little guy. When Yunsheng had killed the leader of the Shadow Beast Corps, she had obtained a few magical beast belts and a few phantom beasts as an additional reward. This phantom beast was much better at digging than most Earth-type magicians. It was an improved version of a pangolin. You mean this thing can mine purple gold ore? Lu Zi was still in disbelief. You will know when you see it. If today's experiment was successful, it would not be as simple as mining purple gold ore. Yunxing's Linglong Beast Tower was known as one of the most mysterious treasures in the boundless land. Any magical beast that stayed in the Linglong Beast Tower for a while would either evolve or mutate. Xiao He and the puffed egg were both evolving. This phantom beast did not evolve directly due to its ordinary grade. However, there was a certain mutation in its body. Its shell, which was originally incomparably hard and rock-like, now seemed to be plated with a layer of gold and had mutated into a golden color. It looked like an enlarged version of a scarab. Yunxing simply called it the fantasy gold beast. 5 sharp and narrow golden claws grew out of its hands and feet. The golden fantasy beast put its claws together to form a natural shovel. It aimed at a piece of purple gold ore that was half buried in the ground and dug hard with its claws. A cloud of dust rose, and a pile of rock chips quickly piled up beside the purple gold ore that was originally difficult to excavate. A piece of purple gold ore that could be said to be perfect was completely dug out in 15 minutes. That's amazing. This piece of purple gold ore is at least more than 5 kilograms. Lu Zi's eyes were shining. If not for the golden fantasy beast's ferocious appearance, Lu Zi might have kissed it a few times. It could be expected that with a few more golden fantasy beasts, this extremely rich purple gold ore vein could be excavated quickly in a short period of time. You keep watch here first. I'll look around. Yunsheng was very curious about the origin of this purple gold ore vein. Her 5 senses were very sharp. As long as someone was within a mile of her, she could quickly detect it. When she entered the purple gold ore mine, Yunxing vaguely felt a strong energy. The reason why she chose to walk north of the mine was that she could vaguely feel that the deeper she went into the mine, the stronger the energy fluctuation became. However, neither the mysterious person nor the villagers focused on mining in this area. The reason was that the amount of purple gold ore in this area was greatly reduced compared to the mine they had entered at the beginning. The purple gold ore exposed on the surface was scattered and very inconspicuous. Yunxing walked all the way to the bottom of the mine and there was no more road ahead. Only then did she stop. Yunxing stood in front of a wall. She knocked on the wall with her hand and found that the wall was very hard. Perhaps because no one had passed by it for many years, a thick layer of moss grew on the wall. However, the color of the moss was fiery red. Yunxing took out a scalpel and scraped off the layer of moss on the wall. The original color of the wall was revealed. The color seems to be different. Yunxing found that the color of this wall was completely different from the purple gold ore outside and the basalt on the ground. It was like a red copper ore. The mysterious person had also noticed this red ore before. They only determined that this red ore was an ordinary copper ore. There were many copper ores on the boundless land. Moreover, due to the application of magicians and various weapons that were not inferior to iron, copper ores were very cheap. Therefore, the appearance of this red copper ore wall was determined to be the end of this purple gold ore vein. However, Yunxing did not think that this wall was a copper ore wall. This was because she used the scalpel in her hand to poke at the wall. She found that the blade of the scalpel, which was as hard as iron, was actually curled up. How could such a strong wall be made of copper ore? Yunxing's heart skipped a beat. She placed her hand on the wall and softly chanted a fire spell. The scorching fire spell swarmed towards the wall. However, to her surprise, the wall still did not move an inch. There was not even a trace of heat. This is amazing. Yunxing could not help but raise her eyebrows. She really wanted to know what was behind that wall. Deputy Commander, it's almost time. Lu Zi's voice came from the other end of the cave. Chapter 324. Yunxing had no choice but to withdraw her hand. No matter what was behind this strange wall, she did not have the time to break it down today. Yunxing turned back. The fantasy gold beast was indeed impressive. In just over an hour, it had already dug out more than 100 kilograms of purple gold ore. It was enough for Yunxing and Lu Zi to report back. When the two of them brought the purple gold ore out, Lu Zi's father was a little puzzled. How did the two of them suddenly obtain so much purple gold ore? However, he did not ask further. The mysterious people brought in a new batch of miners. They worked day and night, 12 hours a day without rest. It was obvious that this group of mysterious people wanted to finish mining this purple gold ore vein in a short period of time. Yunxing estimated that with the current number of villagers and mining speed, this ore vein would be completely dug out in about 10 days. She did not have much time left. Well done. Each of you can get an extra bun tonight. Now, move the ores you've dug out to the Western District. The mysterious leader looked at everyone's progress and found that among this group of 20 villagers, even the two young villagers who looked thin and weak had dug out a full 50 kilograms of ores. This is the purple gold ore that was dug out. Yunxing heard a female voice when she bent over to move the purple gold ore. Hearing the voice, Yunxing's heart skipped a beat and she quickly lowered her head. Xian Mimi walked into the mine and casually picked up a piece of purple gold ore and weighed it in her hand. Xian Mimi's appearance made Yunxing realize that Grand Emperor City was actually related to this ore vein. She immediately thought of the massacre of the city several years ago. It was very likely that Grand Emperor City had already set their eyes on this ore vein at that time. Miss Xian, please put down the ore. According to the agreement between our master and you, all the ore can only be divided after being transported out. The leader of the mysterious people did not seem to be on the same side as Xian Mimi. His businesslike tone made Xian Mimi very dissatisfied. The unruly Xian Mimi raised her eyebrows and pointed at the leader and scolded, "Who do you think you are to speak to me in such a tone? If it weren't for us, would you have been able to find this purple gold mine? Young Miss Xian, you have provided the map of the ore vein, but if it wasn't for our master, would you have been able to obtain this batch of purple gold ore?" That small leader was also a shrewd and ruthless person. They had long been dissatisfied with Di Hongcheng's brother and sister abusing others here. It was only because they abided by the initial agreement that they did not shed all pretense of cordiality. Although the purple gold ore had already been excavated, as one of the most special ores in the continent, the purple gold ore could only be purified after undergoing a special smelting process. In the entire continent, only a few specially trained mages were capable of refining and purifying ores. Although Xian Mimi was rude and unreasonable, she also knew that the ore this time was indeed indispensable to this group of mysterious people. In order to vent her anger, she threw the ore out and walked out angrily. Yunxing heaved a sigh of relief. If Xian Mimi recognized her, it wouldn't be fun. However, at the same time, she also began to have doubts about the identity of this group of mysterious people. It seemed that this ore vein involved more than just Di Hongcheng and the mysterious people's power. Yunxing pondered as she, Lu Zi, and the rest carried the ores to the Western District. There, Yunxing and the rest saw nearly a ton of purple gold ore again. At the same time, she also saw a few mages wearing magic cloaks and a few magic arrays. Yunxing pretended to dawdle for a moment. After the villagers delivered the ores, the mages took the ores into the magic array and disappeared. Obviously, this group of mysterious people was very cautious. They must have smelted the purple gold ore in other places. In the past half a month, more than a ton of purple gold ore had already been transported out through these magic arrays. What are you looking at? Perhaps because Yunxing had taken a few more glances, one of the mysterious people who was monitoring her swung a whip at her. Yunxing didn't dare to use magic elements to block it, so she could only grit her teeth and withstand the whip. The whip with sharp barbs whistled through the air and swung toward Yunxing's slender shoulder. Paw! A hand came out of nowhere and caught the whip in its hand. The barbs of the whip wrapped around the person's 5 fingers. The mysterious person standing beside Yunxing caught the whip with his bare hands. When they left the mine, the mysterious man had been following beside Yunxing the whole time. He had not said a word along the way. Yunxing was a little surprised when he suddenly made a move. Seeing that it was one of his own people who made a move, the mysterious person couldn't help but get angry. "What are you doing?" The mysterious person tried to swing the whip, but when he tried to pull it, he realized that the whip was biting tightly in the other person's hand. Those who were dispatched to participate in this or vein collection mission were all first-class warriors or mages in the country. Most of them didn't know the other person's identity because they were wearing masks. That said, all of them, with the exception of the squad leaders, possessed similar strength. For these mysterious people, once the villagers here finished collecting the ore, they would kill them sooner or later, so their attitude toward the villagers was also very bad. Based on their temperament, when they were happy, they would give them more food to eat, and when they were unhappy, they would beat and scold them. The mysterious person beside him just snorted. His 5 fingers were like eagle claws, and he suddenly exerted force. The whip, which was strong enough to break a rock weighing dozens of kilograms, was instantly broken into several pieces. The mysterious person who used the whip lost his balance and took a few steps back. With just one move, he could see that the other person's strength was much higher than his. He stared at the broken whip in surprise, and for a moment, he didn't dare to fight back. The leader said that we should be careful. In Zhou's state, there are already people who have their eyes on us. It will be very difficult to catch new people. Don't kill people casually. These people are the main force of the ore mining. If we lose one, we will waste more time. It's not worth it. The mysterious person who attacked had a very strange voice. Yunxing looked over from the side. Because he was wearing a mask, she could only vaguely recognize the other person's outline. This was a man with a very deep outline. He had a broad forehead, a sharp nose, beautiful lips, and dark brown eyes. But other than that, Yunxing didn't feel familiar with him at all. If she hadn't told her second uncle in advance, Yunxing would have thought that her second uncle had disguised himself to sneak in. Humph, get out of here. In anger, the mysterious person glared fiercely at Yunxing and the others. Lu Zi's father hurriedly pulled Yunxing away. After walking far away, Yunxing couldn't help but look back at the mysterious person. It was sunset, and a touch of sunset light sprinkled on the man's body, plating a layer of golden light on the man's broad shoulders. For a moment, Yunxing felt that she had seen an emperor come to the world. The pair of dark brown eyes turned into a glazed color in the sunlight, swaying. Chapter 325. The mysterious man's gaze fell on Yunxing's feet. Yunxing followed his gaze and found that because of the heavy shackles on her feet, after walking all the way, her delicate skin had already been scratched a few times. Originally, she didn't feel any pain, but when the mysterious man looked at her like this, Yunxing felt that her wounds were burning. Weirdo. Yunxing grinned and followed Lu Zi's father and the others back to the mine. Don't look, they left long ago. Cheng Bai came out. He stroked his chin and looked at his good friend Yi Baiming with a deep look. Before coming in, Baiming had warned him that he had to be careful with his words and actions in the mine. After all, among the 3 of them, Cheng Bai's temper was the most lively and hot-blooded. A few days ago, he had seen the mysterious man killing the villagers several times and wanted to intervene, but he was stopped by Yi Baiming. He didn't expect that today, Yi Baiming would be the first to break the rules. It seemed that Yi Baiming, who had always been too calm, would lose his cool when things were related to little miracle Dr. Yun. Yi Baiming's eyes wandered and he said in a deep voice, "How's Jiu Shao? We've already found out the whereabouts of the purple gold ore. At most, we can take action in 5 days. But how should we deal with these mysterious people?" Qing Bai looked at the magic array behind him. The whereabouts of the purple gold ore was their real goal. Kill them, don't leave a single one alive. Thinking of the wound on Yunxing's feet and the whip just now, Yi Baiming's voice was as cold as an icicle in the 12th lunar month. Just hearing his voice made Qing Bai feel a chill run down his spine. TSK, it seemed that little miracle Dr. Yun was his brother's reverse scale. Whoever touched him would die. After returning to the mine, the villagers all breathed a sigh of relief. They had made it through another day. However, Yunxing noticed that there was a bat on the wall of the cave that she had never seen before. She walked over to the bat and the bat silently landed beside Yunxing. Under the bat's drooping wings, Yunxing found a small piece of paper. It was a message from the sect. In the past few days, the hunting troops of the Sky Expedition Hunting Corps didn't mind. After failing to contact Marquis of Jiyuan's garrison, Yun Kai Canglong no longer placed their hopes on the garrison. They suspected that the garrison had been bribed by these mysterious people. Without the help of the military, it would be very difficult for the Sky Expedition Hunting Corps to break through the magic formations and defenses around the mining area with just the soldiers they brought. It was obviously impossible to get the military's help. Yunxing thought for a moment and took out a command token from her storage ring. This command token was something that Yunxing had been given to her when she accepted the invitation of the Hunter Branch's consecrated elder of Mount Daoi. Yunxing remembered that the person in charge of the Hunter Branch had said that as long as she showed this command token that symbolized her status as a consecrated elder, she could unconditionally ask for help from the Hunter Union. Although they were currently at the remote border of Zhou State, the footprints of hunters could be found all over the country. With an elder's command token, she could call for help. Yunxing immediately wrote a letter and hit the command token on the bat. Then, she ordered the bat to rush back through the night. After secretly completing the deployment, Yunxing returned to the cave. Around dawn, Yun Canglong and the others who were anxiously waiting in southern Cliff Town finally heard the sound of a bat flapping its wings. Zhongyi waved his hand and the bat landed. On the bat's body, Zhongyi found a command token and a letter. Yun Canglong impatiently opened the letter. After he finished reading the letter, a rare look appeared in the depths of his eyes. Wow, as expected of our master. Other than being the medicine hall elder of the Wushuan Limitless School, he is also the consecrated elder of the Hunter Union. This is quite impressive. Zhongyi touched the elder's command token as if it was a treasure. Xing He actually had connections with the upper echelons of the Hunter Union and even had an elder's command token. Yun Canglong couldn't help but sweat. It seemed that his niece was much stronger than him. The elder's command token of the Hunter Union might not be as useful as the sect token of the Wushuan Limitless School. It could mobilize close to 100,000 martial warriors at once, but in terms of convenience, it was better than the sect token. The use of the sect token required a person above the vice head of the Wushuan Limitless School to initiate it. Furthermore, the user had to be the holder of the sect token. However, the elder's command token of the Hunter Union didn't need to be so troublesome. Seeing the command token was like seeing the elder himself. Therefore, as long as Yun Canglong and the others held this command token, they could go to the Hunter Union branch near the border and obtain the help of the Hunter Union branch. Master Zhongren, leave the command token to me. I will go to the Hunter Union branch to seek help. Xing He also mentioned in the letter that 3 days later, we will meet at an abandoned post dozens of miles away from the mining area. I will hand over all 50 of my brothers to you. It is most suitable for you and the magical beast to be in charge of receiving them. Due to the lack of time, Yunxing's letter was very short, only a few words. Yun Songlong didn't even know what Yunxing wanted people to receive. Understood. Master has always been shrewd in doing things. I will take care of it. However, when you go to the Hunter Union branch, it's best to find more mages. The thunder explosion array in the mining area is very troublesome. Zhong Yi immediately brought Zhou Quan and the others to the location designated by Yunxing. Yun Songlong also didn't stop and immediately rushed to the nearby Hunter Union branch. Around dawn, Bab brought back Yun Songlong's reply. It's almost time to take action. After Yunxing finished reading the letter, she immediately burned it. She found Lu Zi's father and a group of trustworthy villagers who had been observing the situation in the past few days. Listen up, everyone. You must listen carefully to what I am going to say next. I plan to secretly escape with the villagers. Over the past few days, Yunxing had relied on her medical skills to form a special kind of prestige among the villagers. The villagers were almost completely convinced by her words. But today, when Yunxing said that she was going to escape, everyone was still shocked. Escape? Absolutely not. The villagers shook their heads like a rattledrum. They had seen the fierceness of the group of mysterious people many times. Not to mention a group of people, even one person couldn't possibly escape. Moreover, there were more than 300 villagers in the cave now. Including the villagers who were chased to the barn and those who were recruited to cook, there were more than 400 innocent villagers in the entire mining area. Such a group of people was equivalent to the size of a village. Unless there was a large number of flying magical beasts, it was absolutely impossible for a village to escape. The villagers were unwilling to die innocently. Yunxing, this is too rash. Lu Zi's father also didn't agree with Yunxing's approach. Everyone, listen to me first. I have already seen the mine today. The vein inside can be excavated for at most 10 days. If we travel day and night, it won't exceed 7 days. Do you think that group of people will still let us live after the vein is excavated? Yunxing understood that for these villagers, sometimes appropriate threats were more effective. Sure enough, after hearing Yunxing's words, the villagers were all frightened and didn't know what to do. ***, thank you Bayu and Smoke Ring for your tips. ***. Chapter 326. Instead of waiting here to be killed in 20 days, why don't we try my method? If we're lucky, we might be able to escape. It didn't matter if they died early or late. They might still have a chance to live if they tried. The villagers' hearts began to waver. Then tell us, how should we escape? We only leave the cave for a few hours every day. There are people watching us when we go out, the villagers said worriedly. I naturally have a way to get everyone out of the cave. I have a medicine here. Once you take this medicine, you will be like a dead person. However, after 12 hours, the medicine will lose its effect. Yunxing took out a kind of herb. This kind of herb was something she found in the medicine hall of Wushuan Wuji School. It was called poison cardamom. This kind of poison cardamom looked no different from ordinary beans. There were some farmers who didn't know about it and would plant it as food. Once they mistakenly took it, their whole body would be paralyzed, their heart would stop, and even their breathing would be completely gone. To be honest, Lu Zi and I are actually hunters from a hunting group called Sky Felling. We are here to save everyone. You can trust us. The amount of poison cardamom I have is limited. I will let some of the weaker people in the cave take it first. After taking it, the mysterious people will definitely treat you as dead people and carry you out. At that time, I will have my own way to move the rest of the people out. Yunxing took out the poison cardamom. Because they died of illness, the mysterious people would not privately feed these corpses to the magical beasts. As long as the corpses were thrown into the wild, after 12 hours, they would definitely wake up. At that time, these people who took the poison cardamom would be able to escape. When the villagers heard this, they didn't say a word. After a long while, one of them who looked more respectable said, "Everyone, don't doubt it. Most of us here, if it weren't for this hunter, we would have died long ago." The villagers discussed among themselves. They were all simple commoners who clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. Yunxing's arrival had brought hope, clean water, and food to everyone. Soon, the villagers spontaneously selected a group of people. There were about 100 people. Yunxing distributed poisonous cardamom to each of them. The night passed and the sun had just risen when the mysterious group of people entered the cave again to capture the people. However, as soon as they entered the cave, they found that the cave was in a mess and 1/3 of the people had collapsed. He went forward to check and found that these people were all dead. Even their heartbeats were gone. They hurriedly looked for a few magicians who were proficient in magic potions. After checking, those magic potions masters shook their heads. What's going on? It's only been one night. How did these people die? The mysterious leader stomped his feet in anger after he came in. His master had already sent someone to urge him. He said that later Qin's border was ready to make a move. The Dark Prince's spies had already sent people to search the vicinity. In order to prevent being discovered, they had to speed up the excavation. However, at this critical juncture, so many people had died all of a sudden. This made the leader almost go crazy with anger. Perhaps the inside of the cave was too crowded and the lack of ventilation caused an epidemic. The magic potions masters didn't have any concept of ancient medicine and couldn't identify the poison of the poisonous cardamom. They thought that the large-scale deaths this time were caused by an epidemic. The leader looked at the other people in the cave and they also looked dispirited. He couldn't let the epidemic continue. The remaining 200 or so healthy villagers were his last trump card to mine the purple gold mine. After thinking for a while, the leader immediately made a decision. Trash. All of you are trash. What are you waiting for? If the corpses don't cause an epidemic here, move them all out. The rest of the villagers, move them to an open area and lock them up with the group of villagers in the livestock shed. Yunxing mixed in with the crowd. When she heard the leader's words, a smile appeared on her face. Very good, she was waiting to be locked up together. The mysterious people drove the villagers away and carried the corpses out. While helping to carry the corpses, Yunxing saw the mysterious people she had met earlier. She didn't know if it was an illusion, but she actually noticed that the other party looked at her and winked suspiciously. This made Yunxing feel guilty for no reason. Just as Yunxing had predicted earlier, because they were worried that the corpses would cause the magical beasts to get sick, they ordered the villagers to throw the corpses far away. After throwing away the corpses, Yunxing and the 200 or so villagers were all driven to the vicinity of the livestock shed. In this way, almost all the villagers who had been abducted were locked up together. Its mother. Lu Zi saw a familiar figure. When Lu Zi's mother saw her husband and son, whom she hadn't seen for many days, she also burst into tears. The family of 3 had never thought that there would be a day when they would be reunited in their lifetime. Liuzi, uncle, auntie, don't be so sentimental. Yunxing stopped the emotional Liuzi's family. She handed a bag of poisonous cardamom to Lu Zi's mother. Aunt, you are in charge of the food of the mysterious people. Help to mix these beans with the beans that they eat daily. Lu Zi's father and son had already told Lu Zi's mother about Yunxing's identity. Little magic doctor, are you going to poison them? Lu Zi's father couldn't help but be shocked. Looking at Yunxing's bright eyes, he suddenly understood. From the epidemic to being driven to the livestock shed to being poisoned, Yunsheng had predicted all of this. 100 people died all of a sudden. The leader of the mysterious people ordered his men to carry the corpses out and throw them in the wilderness. Yi Baiming and Cheng Bai were among them. Looking at the corpses that were casually thrown in the wilderness, Cheng Bai was a little confused. What the hell is the little magic doctor doing? These people are not dead. Even the magic apothecaries accompanying the mysterious people did not notice it, but Yi Baiming immediately found it. Not dead. You mean, it's her doing? Cheng Bai was enlightened by Yi Baiming and couldn't help but click his tongue. Wasn't this little miracle doctor a little too bold? He actually dared to brazenly steal 100 people right under the nose of the mysterious man. In addition, can you think of other ways to save them faster and better? These villagers in front of him were all citizens of Zhou State. If possible, Yi Baiming also wanted to save them. These people seemed to be dead at first glance. But if they were really dead, how could their bodies and skin not be stiff after a night? Little wild cat, what a good trick. Is this the power of a doctor? She can save people and control their deaths. Yi Baiming pondered. This was the first time that he had a special sense of awe for someone, but he didn't expect that person to be her. Not long after the corpses were thrown in the wilderness, the Zone people arrived with dozens of hunters that night. When they saw the corpses all over the ground, they immediately treated them with the method taught by Yunsheng and quietly transferred them. Chapter 327. Within a day and a night, hundreds of people were transferred out of the mine. At the same time, Yun Songlang also arrived at the hunter branch in the south of the border and showed the elder's order to the local director. Seeing the elder's token was like seeing the elder himself. After listening to Yun Songlang's explanation of the situation, the hunter branch immediately gathered all the hunters above Class D who were on a mission nearby. After counting, there were more than 200 people. That night, Yun Songlang took these elite hunters and rushed to the mine. Little magic doctor, I'll do whatever you say. I don't want anything else. As long as Liuzi can go out safely and leave a descendant for my family, I'll be satisfied. Yunsheng suggested that Liuzi's mother put poisonous cardamom in the food of the mysterious men 3 days later. Liuzi's mother did not ask about the specific reason. Although she was just an illiterate peasant woman, she knew that there were some things that she should not ask. She carefully hid the poisonous cardamom given by Yunsheng. Sister-in-law, don't worry. Your family can go out safely. During this period, I need your and uncle's cooperation. Yunsheng found Liuzi's father and whispered a few words. Liuzi's father nodded repeatedly. Because of the sudden loss of 100 people, the head of the mysterious men was a little confused. Liuzi's father volunteered to give a suggestion to the mysterious man. Sir, I have an idea for you. If the idea is suitable, please let my family of 3 live after the mining is done. Liuzi's father had a face full of loyalty as he begged the leader. The head agreed quickly, but sneered in his heart, how stupid. The day when the mining is finished will be the day you die. Liuzi's father's idea was very simple, which was to increase the number of miners. The number of miners was increased from 20 to 100 at a time. No matter men or women, old or young, as long as they could work, they would be sent to the cave. The remaining 100 people were also rushed to the cave to transport the ores excavated at the site to the magic transmission formation. Quick, everyone, hurry up. We have to collect all the ores within 5 days. As a result, those mysterious people had to supervise the miners day and night. The entire mine was caught in an unprecedented high-intensity labor. Due to the lack of manpower, the mysterious people were also on the lookout, so they relaxed a little. After the third watch, the mining in the cave was still in full swing. Several mysterious people walked out of the mine, yawning again and again. When will these days come to an end? If this goes on, even I won't be able to hold on, let alone the miners, one of them complained. Who asked us to be so unlucky? If we were lucky enough to be assigned to the smelting team, we wouldn't have to suffer like this. I heard that this time, the extraction of the purple gold vein was very successful. Chapter 328. What? You're saying that those ruthless and mysterious people are actually working for Tang Yuan's crown prince, Li Shao? Qing Bai's expression changed. This time, Tang Yuan had joined forces with Grand Emperor City to first obtain the location of the purple gold mine. Then, they would wantonly capture the citizens of Zhou State to mine the mine. The entire plan was concealed very well, and there was no indication that Tang Yuan's people were involved. Qing Bai and the others' investigation was also focused on the hunters at the borders of Zhou State and the later Qin crown prince. They did not expect Tang Yuan Kingdom to appear at this time. Tang Yuan was located at the easternmost part of the boundless land. Crown Prince Li Shao was known as the first of the Wuji Five Walls. He was also a rare genius. He could recite poems at the age of 3 and was familiar with the art of war at the age of 8. The rarest thing was that Li Shao was modest and loved the people as if they were his children. He had always been known as a benevolent person in Tang Yuan. No matter what, destroy this smelting factory first and send out a signal for Zhou Shao to start the operation. Yi Baiming's eyes darkened. A magic scepter appeared in his hand. On the magic scepter, 5 magic soul stones as dark as the night emitted a terrifying aura. At the same time, Yunxing's eyebrows twitched. She felt a chill down her spine. What's wrong? Lu Zi looked nervous. Nothing. I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling. Yunxing suddenly felt uncomfortable, as if she had been schemed against. At this time, Yunxing and Lu Zi were in the mine. The mysterious people who were careless did not notice that the two of them had sneaked into a tunnel. A layer of soil had already piled up in front of Yunxing. Behind the soil, there was a tunnel that was beginning to take shape. Just 2 days ago, after Yunxing managed to send the 100 weak villagers out, she began the second step of her rescue plan. To Yunxing and the Heaven Extermination Hunting Group, finding the purple gold mine was a small matter. Saving the lives of hundreds of villagers was a big matter. Yunxing was very confident that she could escape unscathed in the chaotic environment of the mine. However, she could not protect so many weak villagers. That day, when she used the fantasy gold beast to mine, Yunxing had an idea. Why not use the fantasy gold beast to sneak around the mine and let the villagers sneak out of the mine? She gave it a try and found that a golden illusion beast could dig a tunnel that was nearly 1 mile long in a single night. She had obtained a total of 5 fantasy gold beasts from the beast core. Yunxing had been controlling the 5 fantasy gold beasts for 2 consecutive days and nights. Just now, the fantasy gold beasts had informed Yunxing that they had successfully dug out a passageway to the outside of the mine. There's no time to lose. The tunnel is almost finished. Tonight, when the villagers have a short rest, I'll ask your mother to poison them. Yunxing had been waiting for this moment. Zhongxi had already brought back news that the 100 over villagers had been safely settled in southern Cliff Town. Second uncle also successfully mobilized hundreds of hunters to ambush outside the mining area. Tonight, when she gave the signal, they would immediately attack and occupy the mining area. What Yunxing needed to do was to evacuate as many villagers as possible when night fell. Night came as expected. Just like a few days ago, around dusk, the mysterious people began to distribute food and water. Because they had to protect the villagers from mining, the food had improved a lot during this period. The villagers, who were tired after a day of hard work, sat in 2s and 3s and rested. The mysterious people took out good wine and meat and ate by themselves. Yunxing stole a glance. Because it was mealtime, the mysterious people were relatively relaxed. At this time, there were still more than 20 mysterious people, 10 fire lizards, and a few flying dogs in the mine. The mysterious people gobbled up the meat and drank the wine. No one noticed that there was an inconspicuous bean in their food. Yunxing took a dry steamed bun and slowly moved to the side of a fire lizard. The rank 5 fire lizard's skin exuded a flame-like fighting aura. Little brat, go away. Be careful that the lizard will spit fire at you and kill you. The mysterious people saw that Yunxing was thin and small and wanted to reach out to touch the fire lizard, so they laughed at her. None of them were on guard. The fire lizards, who usually looked like strangers approaching them, all began to tremble when Yunxing approached them. The magic beast's instincts told them that the other party was emitting a terrible wave. It was the unique wave of a summoner. It was a wave that was emitted by the summoning hand on Yunxing's body. It was a wave that only Emperor Zhao had. Now, Yunxing had absorbed more than 20% of the summoning power from the summoning hand. It was easy for her to control these rank 4 and 5 magic beasts. 1. Yunxing seemed to be stroking the fire lizard out of curiosity, but in reality, the moment her hand touched the fire lizard's skin, the fire lizard was quickly tamed by her in just a few breaths. It was a pity that those fierce wind hounds had been lying next to the mysterious people. Yunxing did not find a chance to tame them. In the time it took to eat, more than a dozen fire lizards were tamed by her. We've finished eating. Don't be lazy. Hurry up and dig. After the mysterious people finished eating, they burped a few times. Just as they were about to wave their whips to urge the villagers to get up, one of them suddenly felt that he could not lift his hand. Not only that, they could not move their feet. Then, they could not even move their eyelids. Plop, plop. One after another, more than a dozen mysterious people fell to the ground. There's poison in the food. Among them, some of the mysterious people had higher cultivation. The poison of the poisonous cardamom could not kill them in a short time. They shouted and drove the wind hounds away. They wanted to immediately inform the people outside the cave. But just as they were about to escape from the mine, more than a dozen fire lizards under their command spat out bursts of flames and fought with them. Seeing so many fire lizards suddenly turn against them, the villagers were dumbfounded. Everyone, let's go together. We can't let these evil thieves escape. Lu Zi's father had long been prepared. He and the villagers had long hated these mysterious people who killed people without batting an eyelid. Seeing that they had been poisoned and their limbs were weak, the villagers all took this opportunity to rush forward. They lifted the rocks and threw them at the group of mysterious people. A large number of villagers surrounded the remaining mysterious people. In just a moment, those mysterious people who had done evil were smashed all over the ground, and their heads were bleeding. Little Magic Doctor, what should we do next? After smashing those evil people to death, Lu Zi's father and the villagers were relieved. But at the same time, they were very scared. They knew that if the mysterious people outside knew what had happened in the mine, they would definitely die. I think most of the mysterious people outside have also eaten the poisoned food. When they find out, they will definitely enter the cave. We must make good use of this period of time. Everyone takes a piece of purple gold ore, but don't be greedy. Follow me. Yunxing led the villagers to the tunnel located at the fork. The villagers did not dare to be greedy. Each of them picked up a piece of purple gold ore again. In Yunxing's words, these ores would fall into the hands of the Zhou state military anyway. The villagers' villages were destroyed, and some of them had lost their relatives. They needed a lot of money to rebuild. Chapter 329. There's a tunnel here that my companions dug. Yunxing vaguely explained the origin of the tunnel. At this moment, the villagers were full of admiration for Yunxing. They did not resist anymore and followed Yunxing's arrangement. One by one, they walked down the tunnel. When it was Lu Zi and his father's turn, Lu Zi's father hesitated for a moment and turned around. "Little miracle-working doctor, I'm worried about my wife. I want to go with her. You also need someone to help you. I was a hunter in my early years and know some martial arts. I'll stay and help you." Lu Zi also asked to stay. "Well, Lu Zi, uncle will stay. You and the rest of the villagers go all the way down the tunnel. When you reach a safe place, immediately go to Southern Cliff Town. My people will meet you halfway." Yunxing was very emotional about Lu Zi's father and mother's deep affection. She also knew that Lu Zi's father would not leave. After a few words of persuasion, Lu Zi reluctantly went into the tunnel. In just half an hour, the mine was empty, leaving only the bodies of more than 20 mysteries and magic beasts on the ground. Yunxing walked forward and pulled off the mask of one of the mysterious men. Lu Zi's father searched the mysterious man's body again, and he actually found a token. Yunxing looked at the token and found that the word Xiao was written on it. She could not recognize the specific origin of this token, so she put it away first. "Uncle, do you know how to set traps? Later, after you and I sneak out." Yunxing remembered that there were still a few animal traps that she had taken from Banana Leaf Village in her storage ring. Yunxing commanded the fire lizard and Lu Zi's father to sneak out quietly. Although more than 200 people had been successfully transferred, there were still more than 100 villagers, including Lu Zi's mother, outside and in the area of the livestock shed. Yunxing asked Lu Zi's father to change into the clothes of the mysteries and escorted her out. Lu Zi's father walked out of the mine. Outside the mine, there were still a few mystery men on guard. They were waiting for the next batch of mystery men to take their shifts. The people outside the mine were completely unaware of the riot that had happened inside. "What did this kid do?" Seeing the dejected Yunxing, the guard asked. "His hands and feet are dirty. He secretly hid a piece of purple gold Oregon. If it was in the past, we would have beaten him to death long ago. Now that we don't have enough manpower, let's take him to the barn first." Lu Zi's father was very flexible. He even glared fiercely at Yunxing. Go to the kitchen and urge them. Those guys who changed shifts haven't come yet. Do they want to starve me to death?" The man guarding the mine waved his hand impatiently. He didn't know that the group of mysterious people in the kitchen had already been poisoned by the poisonous cardamom and had fainted. "Got it. Thank you for your hard work, brother." Lu Zi's father pushed Yunxing and walked quickly in the direction of the kitchen. Along the way, Yunxing suddenly found that the thunder explosion magic array, which was originally full of thunderstorm power, had all failed. God is really helping me. Yunxing couldn't help but feel happy. Everything had gone incredibly smoothly today. It was so smooth that it was as if someone was secretly helping her. Yunxing asked Lu Zi's father to set up a lot of animal traps along the way. The two came to the kitchen. As soon as they opened the door of the kitchen, they heard a gust of wind coming at them. "Uncle, be careful." Yunxing immediately pulled out her magic scepter. The wind magic elements knocked away the wind coming at them. "Mother, it's us." Lu Zi's father took a closer look and saw Lu Zi's mother and a group of women from the village and neighboring villages. They were all holding kitchen knives in their hands and surrounding the door of the kitchen. He hurriedly pulled off his mask. The knife just now was swung by Lu Zi's mother. After she slashed out, she saw that it was the little miracle-working doctor and her husband. These women, who usually didn't even dare to kill a chicken, had all been stimulated by the life-or-death experience. They held kitchen knives and looked fierce, as if they were going to fight to the death. Yunsheng, who was still a little nervous, didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You scared me to death. Father, I just thought you were the accomplices of these villains. I followed the little miracle-working doctor's instructions and poisoned them all. Lu Zi's mother touched her chest and pointed behind her. Sure enough, dozens of mysterious people fell behind her. Yunsheng's eyes turned cold. She asked Lu Zi's father to go up and slit their throats with a knife. She had no sympathy for these villains. Yunsheng counted. Including those who had been killed earlier, at least half of the mysterious people in the mining area had been killed by them. The most troublesome ones now were the leader of the mysterious people with the highest cultivation and the Xian siblings in the mining area. Everyone, don't panic. Your families and children are safe. Don't leave the kitchen first. Auntie, do you know where the leader and the Xian siblings live? Yunsheng asked Lu Zi's mother. Yes, I know. Every day at this time, I and several little cooks here deliver food to them. Lu Zi's mother was relieved when she heard that Lu Zi had gone out safely. How about this, I'll disguise myself as a cook and go with Auntie. Yunsheng quickly changed into a little cook's disguise. She and Lu Zi's mother each carried a heavy food box and rushed towards the residence of the leader and the Xian siblings. They walked forward with their heads down. They walked through more than half of the mining area and came to a temporary tent. The tent was lit with luminous pearls. There was only the leader of the mysterious people in it, and the Xian siblings were nowhere to be seen. The mysterious people who were keeping watch outside looked normal. Obviously, they didn't know what had happened in the mining cave. Your Excellency, this is today's meal. Lu Zi's mother put down the food box. Wait a minute, why haven't I seen you before? The leader of the mysterious people was cautious. He looked at Yunsheng's beautiful face and fair skin, and suddenly grabbed Yunsheng's hand. Because of the jade marrow technique, Yunsheng's hand was slender and fair, completely different from the rough hands of ordinary village women. The leader recognized the difference in Yunsheng at a glance. Your Excellency. Bad news. Several mysterious people ran in from outside. There's a problem with the magic array. What? The leader was shocked and let go of Yunsheng's hand. Could it be that they had found out that the thunderstorm magic array had failed? Yunsheng also noticed that when she and Lu Zi were first brought back to the mining area, there were many magicians in the mining area. But these days, there were almost no magicians in the mining area. It seemed that for some special reason, all the magicians had been transferred away. It was also because of this reason that these mysterious people, who looked like ordinary warriors, didn't notice that the magic array had been tampered with. After listening to them, Yunsheng realized that the magic array they were talking about was not the thunderstorm magic array, but the space-time transmission magic array used to transport the purple gold ore. Thank you to Mei Dai and Smoke Ring for your tips. I will work hard to write the novel. The female lead will be big. Remember to come back and visit me on the weekends when school starts. The tips I owe will accumulate and I will pay them all back. Chapter 330. The leader was obviously shocked. He grabbed the person who came and asked sternly, "Say it again. What happened to those teleportation magic arrays? They don't work anymore. Our people brought a batch of newly collected purple gold ore." As usual, when they were about to go through the magic arrays, everyone who went in was ejected. The mysterious man was also at his wit's end. He could only immediately return to report to the leader. Impossible. The magic arrays that Master had people draw were all made by the best magicians in the country. The leader's face was full of disbelief. He immediately rushed to the magic arrays with his men. Take those two women with you. He looked back at Yunxing and Lu Zi's mother and ordered his men to bring them along. Yunxing remained calm and collected. She and Lu Zi's mother followed the mysterious men to the teleportation magic arrays. Just as the mysterious men had said earlier, those teleportation magic arrays were now dim and lifeless. Yunxing also noticed that there were no space-time magic elements in those magic arrays. It was as if someone had sucked all the magic elements out of those magic arrays. It was exactly the same as the thunderstorm magic arrays. Yunxing could not help but be surprised. Who was the mysterious man who could break such powerful magic arrays at once? The leader of the mysterious men felt that something was wrong. Come, bring all the villagers here. Take those two women and bring them to the cave. The leader of the mysterious men knew very well that these teleportation magic arrays led to the magic smelting field that Master had meticulously set up. Now that the magic arrays had suddenly stopped working, they had lost contact with the smelting field. Something must have happened at the smelting field. Tens of millions of purple gold ore. And nearly 100 magicians from Master's residence. The only thing the mysterious leader could do now was to beg those magicians and the purple gold ore to be safe. Otherwise, he did not dare to think further. He thought that no matter what method he used, he had to transfer the remaining purple gold ore away. This way, at least he could report back to Master. Is there any movement inside? The team leader and the rest of the mysterious people drove the rest of the villagers to the outside of the mine. There's nothing going on. Everything is very quiet. The few mysterious people guarding outside the mine did not know what was going on when they saw the small leader leading a group of people over. I suspect that someone has snuck into the mine. The magic arrays outside have all been destroyed. Drive all these people in. The leader was very shrewd. He was afraid that the enemies who were lying in ambush had already sneaked into the mine. He drove the rest of the villagers into the mine first. Then, he waited outside and listened to the movements inside. At this time, Lu Zi's father was waiting in the kitchen. After waiting for a long time, Yunxing and Lu Zi's mother did not come back. He was a little anxious. Calculating the time, it was about time. He took out a signal rocket that Yunxing had given him before she left and threw it into the air. The fire beacon arrow flew into the sky and exploded in midair. A smoke signal floated into the air. Almost at the same time, Yun Songlang and the hundreds of hunters who were lying in ambush outside the mine received the signal. Everyone, let's charge inside. What's that sound? After the leader of the mysterious men drove the group of villagers in, there was no movement for a long time. When he heard the signal of the fire beacon arrow, his expression changed. Sir, it's not good. There are many hunters outside rushing in. The mysterious man who was keeping watch outside reported in horror. Capture all the people inside. A few hundred hunters. When the leader of the mysterious men heard this, he understood that he had fallen into the other party's trap. More than half of the mages under his command were gone, and there were less than 100 people left. Once the other party's elite hunters were out, it would be difficult to resist. He could only use the hundreds of hostages at hand. Who knew that when they rushed into the mine, they would find that there were no villagers inside? Not a single one. How is this possible? The leader of the mysterious men looked as if he had been struck by lightning. He looked at the empty cave and was speechless. Who said that there's no one left? I'm still waiting for you here. A clear voice came from a corner of the mine. A young man stood in the middle of the deadly purple gold ore. The leader of the mysterious men immediately recognized her. She was the little cook who had delivered food to him earlier. Who are you? The leader of the mysterious men still could not understand how so many villagers suddenly disappeared. Yen Yun from the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps. Yunxing smiled. Although she was young, she was beautiful. When she smiled, the group of mysterious men only felt that their eyes were dazzled. Hunters. You're with the hunters outside. What a heaven extermination hunting corps. I didn't think that we would fall into your trap. However, you're really not afraid of death. Do you think that you can defeat us alone? The leader of the mysterious men could not help but shake his head. This young lady was also stupid. At this time, she should be hiding. Who told you that I was alone? Yunxing pursed her lips and pulled out her magic scepter. Mage? So what if you're a magician? Even if you're a high-level magician, we'll be able to capture you while you're chanting. The leader waved his hand, and the dozens of mysterious men beside him pounced on Yunxing like hungry wolves. Mages were naturally at a disadvantage. Furthermore, the other party was only a young mage. Never underestimate your enemy, idiots. Yunxing's red lips curled up slightly. She pointed her magic scepter at the ground and a summoning array appeared under her feet. The ground churned and the purple gold ore rolled all over the ground. A terrifying magic beast the size of an elephant with 100 legs emerged from the ground. Magic beast. Could it be that the other party was not an ordinary mage? She was also a summoner. When the unknown species of magic beast appeared, the leader realized that the windhounds beside him were all trembling in fear. Although he was not a summoner, he could feel that the magic beast was emitting a terrifying aura. This aura had not appeared even on the Crown Prince's mount, the level 9 dragon horse. Could it be that it was an existence that surpassed level 9? What a pity. If you obediently ate the poisoned food I prepared for you, you could still be full. Now, you can only be used to feed my centipede ants. Leave no one alive. Yunxing's eyes flashed and a murderous look appeared on her pretty face. The magic scepter in her hand shot out several fire arrows at the same time. The centipede ants flapped their wings and spat out venom from their mouths. Blood and flesh rained down in the mine. The leader of the mysterious men was quickly forced to retreat. Chapter 331. Escape. He had to escape. Only now did he understand how terrifying this female summoner of the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps was. Her small figure shuttled through the group of mysterious people, each hand releasing a flame explosion. The crimson flames made her eyes look blood-red. When she killed, her black hair fluttered in the wind. She was like a demon from hell, taking lives with every move. In front of the centipede ant, these martialists, who had undergone strict training, were torn to pieces and swallowed in one gulp. The pleas and cries for help from her subordinates were like a never-ending song. Under the cover of a few mysterious people, the leader finally managed to kill his way out of the mine. However, when he stepped out of the mine, he was met with hundreds of hunters waiting for him outside. Originally, everyone was prepared to fight to the death and see a tragic scene of corpses everywhere. However, when they entered, they felt that it was inconceivable. They found the dozens of villagers who were still in the kitchen and rushed to the mine. Just as they were about to kill their way in, they saw a few cultivators covered in blood running out in a sorry state. Their expressions were as if they had seen a ghost. The person in the lead was like a god, unstoppable. Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps, Yun Sanglong. We have been waiting here for a long time. Without the lightning explosion magic array, Yun Sanglong and the hundreds of hunters killed their way in. Zhou State, Yun Sanglong. When he saw the godlike Yun Sanglong and his intact arm, the leader of the mysterious people could no longer support himself. His knees went weak and he collapsed to the ground. How did this person end up like this? Where were the other mysterious people? Second uncle, you came just in time. Yun Sanglong was puzzled when he saw his niece walk out of the mine with a relaxed expression. When he saw Yunxing, the leader of the mysterious people shouted, "Don't come over. Don't come over." He looked as if Yunsheng was a demon. Yun Songlong had a headache. It seemed that this group of people had been messed with by his niece. Second uncle. Yunsheng still wanted to say something, but suddenly, Yun Songlong's expression changed. The hunters also looked behind them vigilantly. War horses neighed. At the entrance of the mine, military flags fluttered in the wind like the clouds in the sky. Above the flags were embroidered the words, Zhou State. Shou. A general from Zhou State galloped over. Behind the horses were the Xian siblings from Grand Emperor City. Zhou State's Marquis of Jiayuan's army has come under orders to encircle and suppress bandits. All of you, quickly retreat. That general was precisely the nephew of the Marquis of Jiayuan that Yun Songlong had met earlier, the general of the southern border garrison, enrich. Zhou State Garrison. Yun Songlong's expression changed drastically. He looked at the Xian siblings beside enrich and knew that something was amiss. Yunsheng also didn't expect that the situation that had been completely under control would suddenly change because of the sudden appearance of the southern border garrison. So it's Brother Yun. Seeing the group of hunters standing together, then looking at the mysterious person kneeling on the ground, enrich's small eyes narrowed. He and Yun Songlong could be considered old acquaintances. The two of them were about the same age. It was just that when Yun Songlong joined the army, he had always suppressed him in every aspect. This made the petty enrich very dissatisfied. Several years ago, Xian Wuji had plotted against Yun Songlong and caused him to be crippled. When enrich found out, he even held a banquet in his official residence to celebrate. Without Yun Songlong as an eyesore and with the help of the Marquis of Jiayuan, enrich had a meteoric rise. He even managed to obtain a lucrative position as the general of the southern border garrison. These years, he had acted like a tyrant in the border area. He had colluded with Emperor Hongqing, later Qin, and Tang Yuan. He had originally reaped great benefits from the purple gold mine this time. Who would have thought that Yun Songlong and the local hunters would appear halfway and ruin his plans? The Xian siblings were also cunning. They had discovered that the magic array in the mine was damaged before the mysterious person's team leader. They knew that something was amiss, so they informed enrich overnight and let him take over the mine in the name of Zhou State Garrison before Yun Songlong and the others interrogated the mysterious person. General long time no see. His Majesty had us investigate this mine when we were in Yujing earlier. Yun Songlong also knew that something was amiss, but he had already resigned from his position as the general of Zhou State. In terms of status, he was now a citizen and enrich was an official. In Zhou State, he couldn't make an enemy of enrich. He could only tell enrich about the appointment of the Emperor of Zhou State. The Marquis has already mentioned this matter to me. Since the mine has been found, let us deal with these villains who have seized the mine. Also, let me take over the mine behind you. Enrich coveted the mine when he thought of the remaining half of the purple gold mine. This group of damn hunters, they don't know what's good for them. How dare they take away my source of income? Let him take over the mine and the mysterious person? Yunsheng couldn't help but frown. But if she didn't agree, it would be tantamount to disobeying the military order. The hunters of the Hunter Union wouldn't agree to make an enemy of the army. She and second uncle obviously couldn't confront the army head-on. Enrich had come prepared today. He had brought thousands of elite defenders with him. Chapter 332. When she saw the cloth, the corner of Yunsheng's mouth couldn't help but twitch. This Song Wei was really a clown. Earlier, he had forced the Zhou State's emperor, Yi Qingtian, to cut out 50% of the mine's ownership. He was also afraid that the Zhou State's emperor would go back on his word. In order to prevent others from saying that his imperial seal and signature were fake, he tore off a piece of the Zhou State's emperor's robe and forced the Zhou State's emperor to sign it himself before stamping it with his imperial seal. Only then did Enrich see the ownership of the mineral vein. Enrich was skeptical. He carefully looked at the ownership of the mine. That piece of cloth was an imperial cloth. The imperial seal and the words were all written by the Zhou State's emperor himself. In this way, Enrich had nothing to say. I see. Since Lord Summoner has proof, then half of the mine's ownership belongs to you. As for... Enrich wanted to continue. The ownership of the mine is not enough. The ores that are dug out must also be divided into two. Leader Yun, find someone to enter the mine and record all the purple gold ores that have been mined. Half of these ores belong to this old man. Zhong Wei looked old-fashioned, but his brain worked faster than anyone else's. When Enrich heard this, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The Xian siblings' faces were also as black as the bottom of a pot. They had originally planned to tamper with the purple gold ores that had been mined. With Zhong Wei's plan, even if they wanted to tamper with the ores later, they would have no way to do so. Xian Wuji's eyes turned. Suddenly, he thought of a plan and whispered in Enrich's ear. When Enrich heard this, he put on a smile. Lord Summoner, this official has something to discuss with you. Earlier, you said that His Majesty gave you half of the mine's ownership in order to find the mine. Why don't we divide the ownership of the mine now? This mine is divided into two directions, north and south. Most of the mines in the south have been mined by my Zhou State's villagers. This official thinks that since this is the case, why don't we use the north and south as the boundary? The south belongs to our Zhou State and the north belongs to Lord Summoner. Enrich's words were very clever. However, when Yunsheng heard this, she sneered in her heart. With north and south as the boundary, Enrich and Xian Wuji were truly cunning. Zhong Yi did not enter the mine, so how would he know the distribution of the purple gold ores on the north and south sides? In fact, this purple gold mine was very unevenly distributed on the north and south sides. Most of the purple gold mines that were easy to dig were on the south side, while the north side was barren. However, Yunsheng remembered the strange wall on the north side. Enrich and Xian Wuji exchanged glances. They were certain that Zhong Yi had never entered the mine before and would not know the situation inside. Zhong Shi glanced at Yunsheng and saw her nod. All right, I won't take advantage of Zhou State. I'll divide the remaining mine into two. The south will belong to you, and the north will belong to me. Neither the north nor the south is allowed to interfere. When Enrich heard this, he nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. He was still afraid that Zhong Yi would go back on his word, so he ordered his subordinates to write a contract. Both parties signed it separately, one copy for each person. Thus, the matter of the mine came to an end. Enrich ordered his men to escort the mysterious people away. After Yun Songlong thanked the hunters who came to help, he settled the villagers down and the Heaven Hunting Corps members returned to Southern Cliff Town. The rescued villagers thanked him profusely. They firmly remembered the kindness of the Heaven Hunting Corps. The Heaven Hunting Corps' reputation also rose because of this incident. However, this was a story for later. After Yunsheng returned to the inn, she showed the token with the word Shao on it to Yun Songlong. After Yun Songlong checked it, his expression changed. Are you sure this token was found on the mysterious people? This token seems to belong to Tang Yuan and Li Shao's personal guards. It's a pity that the mysterious people have already been taken away by Enrich. If I'm not wrong, Dihong City, Enrich, and Tang Yuan must have colluded with each other. Yunsheng felt that it was a pity that 2/3 of the purple gold ore had fallen into the hands of Tang Yuan's people. Li Shao is Tang Yuan's second prince. This person is also a top figure, so we need to be more careful. Also, we must have offended Di Hong City this time. We need to be more careful in the future. Yun Songlong thought of the sinister glance Xian Wuji gave them when he left the mine. Second uncle, Xing Er knows what to do. I want to stay at the border for a few more days and develop the purple gold ore vein in the north. The Heaven Hunting Corps' current equipment and members are still too few. After developing the purple gold ore vein, we can obtain more funds. Yun Xing told Yun Songlong her thoughts. I'll leave the matter of the ore vein to you. Rin's men have already started to mine the ore vein. What I mean is that after they've finished mining, we'll go in to investigate to avoid any conflicts. Yun Songlong chose a reliable hunting soldier and handed it to Yun Xing. The Heaven Hunting Corps' reputation had spread far and wide. During this period of time, many missions had come to them. Two pieces of news quickly came from Rin's side. The first piece of news was about the purple gold ore that had been divided. Yun Xing and the others had been given a share of the purple gold ore that was worth 1 million. The second piece of news was about the leader of the mysterious people. Not long after that leader was captured by Zhou State's army, he'd committed suicide with a group of other mysterious people. Rin even hung his corpse at the entrance of Southern Cliff Town. However, his face had been scratched into a mess. On the night after the corpse was hung up, a few fast horses crossed the southern border and headed towards Tangyuan. Late at night 3 days later, in the capital of Tangyuan, the most powerful country in the east of the boundless continent. As the country with the most mages on the continent, Tangyuan was emitting the aura of magic everywhere. In the population ratio here, the ratio of ordinary people to mages was as high as 3-to-1. This ratio meant that 1 out of 4 people was a mage. There was a record of the continent's historians. Among the 5 major countries on the continent, other than the East Imperial capital, the other 5 had their own characteristics. Their characteristics could be seen just by looking at the city walls of their respective imperial capitals. For example, Zhou State and later Qin, countries that worshipped martial arts, most of their imperial capital city gates were built with huge stones. The city walls were sturdy and could withstand the impact of thousands of troops and horses. Penglai was a natural sea country. They used the sea as their wall and countless sea beasts were their best defense. As for the immortal abode, it was a country of elves. The everlasting elven forest was the most natural city wall. As for Tangyuan's imperial capital, Bianliang, it looked no different from an ordinary city. However, upon closer inspection, one would realize that there were countless magic arrays drawn on the city walls of Bianliang. This was a country of magic. Chapter 333. The streets of Biantang were not lit by ordinary lamps, but by magic lamps that would not be extinguished for decades. At night, a few horses galloped along the street, led by Xian Wuji and the mysterious leader who should have killed himself long ago. Outside a quiet mansion, the courtyard was deep and bustling. The lanterns of the crown prince's residence were like a long dragon, emitting a frightening light in the dark night. When Xian Wuji and the mysterious leader saw Li Shao, the second prince of Tangyuan, Li Shao, he was sipping tea. This man, known as the first of the Wuji 5 Jade Walls, had a picturesque appearance. In terms of appearance, he did not have Yi Baiming's exquisite features, nor did he have Xia Wenchu's aura that made people unconsciously feel close to him. But Li Shao's uniqueness was that he was just right, neutralizing Yi Baiming's exquisite handsomeness with Xia Wenchu's temperament. In addition, he had been trained in the royal family since he was young, so no matter the occasion, he could shine like the most precious purple gold. In the pavilion, Li Shao personally boiled the water, placed the tea leaves, and washed them. Every movement was very elegant and almost impeccable. Second prince, I deserve to die. The purple gold vein has been taken away. When the mysterious leader saw Li Xiao's peaceful expression, he knelt on the ground. In front of this elegant master, he didn't even dare to say a word. There's more. Li Xiao picked up the fragrant cup and blew on it. The smelting field has been destroyed. More than 100 mages, and tens of millions of top-grade purple gold that had been refined are missing. When the leader of the mysterious people heard the news, he gritted his teeth so hard that they almost broke. He had wanted to die, but when he thought of his wife and children, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and return to Tang Yuan. He knew that if he dared to defect, what awaited him would be endless pursuit. Do you know who did it? Li Xiao's face was still calm and elegant, but there was a dark undercurrent in his eyes. Those familiar with Li Xiao knew that this was a sign that he was enraged. After nearly a year of planning, they obtained the purple gold mine from the Grand Emperor's city at a high price. Everything went smoothly with more than 100 elite magicians. Whether it was Zhou State or later Qin, no one discovered their secret. But just a few days ago, several bad news came one after another. Zhou State's army launched a surprise attack on the purple gold mine. More than 100 magicians in the smelting factory were slaughtered, and the smelting pool, which was originally filled with purple gold water, flowed with blood. All of his hard work had been destroyed in a single night. The most despicable thing was that tens of millions of purple gold had disappeared in a single night. The casualties were heavy, and these people were all elites under Li Xiao. I don't know. The leader's voice was filled with fear. I don't know. Captain Lin, please get up first. Li Xiao put down the cup in his hand. A silver light flashed in the cup. Although I don't know who destroyed the smelting factory, in this mine incident, a new hunting corps called the Sky Expedition Hunting Corps played a major role. They saved the villagers. This subordinate suspects that the tens of millions of purple gold that disappeared without a trace also went into their pockets. That hunting corps' strength is not to be underestimated. Their leader is the former military general of the Great Zhou dynasty, Yun Songlong. They also have a summoner who can summon commander-level magical beasts. The leader of the mysterious group only knew that he had been captured. He did not know how he had fallen into the encirclement of the Heaven Expedition Hunting Corps. Yun Songlong. Wasn't his hand crippled? When did Zhou State have a summoner who can summon commander-level magical beasts? Li Xiao's expression changed slightly. Zhou State's national fortune was declining, but he didn't expect that several powerful people from Zhou State would be implicated this time. I saw it with my own eyes. Yun Songlong's hands are as good as new, and his cultivation is not inferior to before. As for the summoner, she is young, but very sinister and cunning. Her name is Yan Yun. The leader of the mysterious people described Yun Xing's situation. Captain Lin, you've worked hard these days. Li Xiao changed the topic and raised the cup of tea he brewed earlier. This cup of tea is for you. When the leader of the mysterious people heard this, his forehead immediately broke out in a cold sweat. The crown prince's tea, he trembled and took the cup of tea. The silver light of the tea reflected the bright moon in the sky. I know that I have committed a capital offense. I only hope that your highness can spare my wife and children on account of my years of loyalty. The mysterious person drank the cup of tea in one gulp. Very good. Lin Xiaowei, you can leave. Li Xiao walked to the leader of the mysterious people. He raised his hand and patted Lin Xiaowei's shoulder. Lin Xiaowei only felt a cold finger caressing his shoulder. The crown prince didn't blame him. The leader of the mysterious people was overjoyed. He hurriedly kowtowed to express his gratitude and couldn't wait to leave. He had only taken 3 steps when his eyes suddenly widened. A layer of ice quickly condensed on his lower limbs. The ice layer quickly spread to his entire body. In the end, even his hair and eyebrows were completely frozen. With a crack, the leader who was kowtowing to express his gratitude a moment ago turned into an ice sculpture. The ice sculpture shattered inch by inch and quickly turned into a puddle of water. This. Xian Wuji, the young castellan of Grand Emperor City, who was originally sitting at the side and sipping his tea, couldn't help but shake the teacup in his hand. A drop of hot water splashed out. The water splashed on his hand, but he didn't feel hot. He seemed to feel a wave of icy magic elements surrounding him. That pat just now. Xian Wuji finally realized that Tang Yuan and Li Xiao's seemingly careless pat was a fatal one. Even with Xian Wuji's cultivation, he couldn't tell when exactly Li Xiao had injected the fatal ice magic elements into Lin Xiaowei's body. The Wuji 5 annulus was indeed worthy of its name. It was rumored that Tang Yuan and Li Xiao were adept at water magic and could kill people without leaving a trace. Xian Wuji watched as a living soldier turned into a puddle of water in the span of a few breaths. His heart was filled with fear. He coughed and put down the teacup in his hand. Speaking of which, the cooperation between Grand Emperor City and Tang Yuan was carried out in secret. Xian Wuji had originally planned to take advantage of this opportunity to make a huge profit. Who knew that the Heaven Extermination Hunting Corps would suddenly appear and disrupt their plans? Xian Wuji was still depressed. Seeing that Yun Songlong had recovered, Xian Wuji came to Tang Yuan this time to ally with the second prince, Li Xiao, and think of a way to deal with the people of the Yun residence. According to his understanding of Li Xiao, this person looked benevolent but was actually sinister and narrow-minded. He definitely wouldn't let the loss of tens of thousands of kilograms of purple gold go. September 1st, a new month, a rush for votes.